We will be here. We will be busy until 6 o'clock. Wolo and Stats with all of you. So the first shoe, instead of two, it may be many, maybe a centipede. The first shoe has fallen in the FBI probe with college hoops, and we will discuss that for sure as Oklahoma State got the book thrown at them today. We'll have to figure out how many more are going to get the same kind of treatment. And I would have to imagine Kansas, Louisville, NC State, South Carolina, TCU, USC, they're all really nervous right now. But, Brett, if you don't mind, since I missed yesterday and all the discussion about Mike Norvell, but in particular Drew Brees, and it goes back to Colin Kaepernick, and it goes to a theory that I've had for years and years about many different things and social issues in life. And it's all about the pendulum swinging from one extreme to the other extreme. And if we go back a couple of years ago to Colin Kaepernick and the strong sentiment that was there about Colin Kaepernick's views and about what was perceived to be a total disrespect for the military and the flag when he was trying to make a statement, and he said it then, about brutality and targeting, and that was his belief, and he was speaking his belief. And I know I did at that time. I was doing the show with Peter, but I'm pretty sure you had the same sort of thing. This is America. We are allowed to speak and say what we feel. We have the right to disagree, but we also have that right, and that's why our forefathers, our ancestors, all fought for us for that privilege. So now here we are 2 years later, and we go 180 degrees, the swinging of the pendulum. At 4 years? Mm-hmm. Okay. And here's Drew Brees, who his original intent is basically to say, look, I understand what's going on out there, and I feel for those people, but I'm never going to, under any circumstance, disrespect the flag. That's me. And then, so the opposite argument pretty much has riled enough people where if you look at the video of him, he is absolutely begging for forgiveness. And I felt it was very sincere. He had made a mistake. I think he felt maybe he was a little misunderstood in really what he was trying to say. And I loved what he said is, I want to be the solution, a part of the solution. But my point is this, and it's why we're having all these protests right now. We've gone, and you say 4 years, and I appreciate your
about three.
Your
I'm
time
sorry, I've been
3
corrected.
years.
About
all right,
three.
so we're in between you and me.
There we go. You're good though.
We have one extreme on one side, which brings out this polar reaction. Then 3 years later, the opposite argument, the same polar reaction where masses have taken an argument. This is why we got to get it right now.
And we have an opportunity.
Yes, and I listen. I listen to enough people now, especially African-American people, who really feel.
And I want to listen.
Yes, and they really feel that the George Floyd murder is a true turning point in race relations in America. And when we see that we can go from one extreme to the other, the pendulum swings. We're America. We're supposed to be able to accept both those arguments and then talk it out and figure it out. And maybe this is the time that we really, truly will. I look generationally. I was having this discussion with a friend just the other day. And if we go back to the 60s, late 50s in America, when fire hoses were being used, and Jarvis Greer might have referred to that. Mm-hmm. To that generation and their sense of humanity and acceptance of their neighbors, to now, even though we are obviously still not there, we've gotten better. And this is the next step, I hope, to absolutely getting better. And it is amazing how the pendulum has swung, and let's hope now we find it somewhere in the middle in a good time in the next whatever time it takes.
Well, out of this nightmare and out of this tragedy, maybe we can maybe we can get it right. But I do think it takes some listening, and it takes some understanding, and it takes some open hearts.
Yep, it does. But I think we're at a point, again, that pendulum swinging back toward the middle, I think we're at a point now where that will be acceptable. I think people really want to do that. When you look at the makeup, generationally, socially, race relations-wise, look at the makeup of the protesters and look at the makeup of the leaders that are having their say.
Right.
And it makes you think this is sincere and that this is going to be a real step. Now, what are the steps they take? That's the next question you have to ask. It starts with education and training in my mind. But I think smarter minds than me will figure all that out.
I hope we can.
Yeah. In the meantime, crazy day. We mentioned what happened with Oklahoma State. By the way, the Musa Cisse delay, still on delay. And Musa told, I want to say it was 24/7. I read the story on CBS, but he basically said now is a bad time because of all the protests. He doesn't want to take any attention away from that. So here's a guy with obviously a social conscience, and he's saying, I don't know exactly when I'm going to make my decision, but I'm not going to do it right now. So
he has till August, and we know now the fall semester at the University of Memphis will start Monday, August 17th, and will conclude around the Thanksgiving date, about a week later than some, but ending on the date that just generally about everyone's going to try to end first semester. Now, the real question is going to be, when do you start the spring semester? Do you have intersession at a lot of places, whether you will or won't? I don't know. That has to be decided. It's kind of, let's get this figured out now. And the NBA largely has done that, Dave. One thing that I don't think is being discussed enough, the 2021 season for the NBA, the idea of fanless just would crush a lot of places and severely damage Memphis.
Oh, it would severely damage almost any market.
25 of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Here's my question for you, and I don't think you have the answer. I do this. I just throw this out here. If Memphis and all these schools now are beginning middle August, right? 10th or 16th, whatever the date may be. Once you start school, you can't have those long practice sessions.
That's right. The 20-hour practice clock turns on.
Are we going to adjust as a body? The NCAA needs to do
I wish
this.
we would, Dave, but I'm scared to leave a lot of college football coaches to their own devices.
Oh, I agree with that. Even one of them, and who was it that said that? Was it Lincoln Riley? I think it was Lincoln Riley the other day. He said
he did.
You can't leave coaches or they will abuse the system if you just let them have their way.
He did that, and I'm being a little bit hypocritical in that I just said I'm scared of leaving most of them, and that's basically what he said. And when I was reading that Lincoln Riley story, now he was asked his opinion of it, and he gave it, but lately I wish Lincoln Riley would coach his team and leave everybody else to coaching theirs. He is in control of not abusing it, of not overworking them, of not making voluntary mandatory. If it's voluntary, it's voluntary. And that's what he expressed, and he is a great young coach. It's unarguable that he's going to be one of the titans of the game, and then he will have a big platform. But for right now, coach the Oklahoma Sooners.
But his point is well taken.
It is.
We do need to have some sort of, whether that is the CFP committee, because they're really running college football, right? Or
the commissioners.
Or the commissioners of the Power Five all coming together and having some uniformed ideas about the way they're going to work this fall. And some could differ, but there has to be at least a set amount of days where you can start prior to get whatever a fall camp needs to be with the full practice. And then once school starts, as we said, you're on your 20-hour clock. And since you didn't get spring, and there are plenty of new coaches bringing in new systems too, alone in the state of Mississippi, I think someone or some group needs to step forward and say, okay, we're all changing our calendars here. Let's adjust this. And at least have a framework. That could be, okay, 15 days of full practice with 12 of them in pads, and I'm making those numbers up.
And
But
a week or two of no limit. But the 20-hour is not just for overworking them, and it's also some adherence to academics when school starts.
Oh, absolutely. You have to have time to study.
You should.
And if you're practicing 40 hours, where are you going to get the hours you need to study?
You can't be sharp enough.
Yeah. So that is the bottom line. But in light of all the schedule changes now, I think they need to come up with a framework. Before we get to top and not top story and the lineup for today, I just want to know if you've changed your mind at all about the Grizzlies getting robbed by the NBA.
No, it's more firmly cemented.
See, I am more firmly the other way, which is the beauty of why we have these discussions. The more I think about it, the Grizzlies, if you look at the 17 games that they had left to play, and if you look at the depletion of their roster, Winslow had never played, and don't know if he was
getting ready to return. He was on the eve of returning.
I know, but he never played with the team at all. And you weren't going to have 2 weeks to get to know a guy. Jaren Jackson was out or just coming back, and he wasn't 100%. And Brandon Clark was still out. Grayson Allen, I guess, may still be out. But everybody is going to start from scratch, fresh as could be, 3.5 months later, all healthy, and almost a month to get to know one another.
But the whole league will do that too.
The whole league will do that, true. But this team should be stronger than they would have been at that time, where they had to play 17 games in the most murderous schedule of all. Portland twice, at Portland. You had New Orleans twice, which you still might do. You had San Antonio, you had Boston like you did, you had the Lakers, you had every tough team, whereas the New Orleans Pelicans, and remember, you're only going to get to the 8th spot, right? You're not getting 8th and 9th. The New Orleans Pelicans were playing, I want to say, out of the remaining games they had, half of those games were against teams that aren't even coming to Orlando. They clearly had a better shot, and they were more healthy than Memphis. And now you only got to play 8 games. You've got a 3.5 game lead. You're pretty much a cinch. Even if you go 2-6, that you're going to have a position, whether it's 8 or 9, and then you go head to head. And if you're 8, all you got to do is win 1 game. You can even lose a game.
3 and 5 will go a long way.
3 and 5, you're probably not even going to have to worry about it.
And 4 and 4, you sure wouldn't.
And New Orleans' schedule, my friend, is going to be a lot harder than it would have been. So I think when it comes down to really making the playoffs, and I believe their chance at the time of of Rudy Gobert's ending of the season was like 43% by ESPN's power ranking, and now it's over 50% or even better, because that 9 spot is there for you to still make it. I think it worked out great for the Grizzlies.
I hope you're right. The frustrating thing for me is just kind of the, shall we say, the institutional systemic dismissing of the Grizzlies. And I listed, I'm going to use the word, I listed some of the grievances I have with the NBA, and I also said Wednesday and reiterated yesterday, the only way you can change it, the only way you can get respect is by earning it. And Drew and I both yesterday, Dave, for a team that's built for the future, if they go down to Orlando and they have that swagger and they play like they can and they take care of business and they get into that 8 without any tomfoolery, without that kangaroo court of games, and then they put, and then I think they would be around the 14th seed in the 1 through 16, and make some noise, maybe an upset in a series. We will look back when Clark, Jackson, Winslow, Morant are grizzled veterans, and this would be the time that this team was really earned its stripes, really got initiated.
The fact is they're all healthy, and they're coming back, and they're going to have a month together, just about. A couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks in Orlando before the games all begin. I think it's all good, considering that let's go back to the very beginning of last year. You were not even, you're hoping to win 25 games.
Exactly. Vegas over and under was 26.5. I was at 22. You were at 27. Drew was at, what were you, Drew, about 30?
I think it was at 30, 31.
Okay, so And they blew through all that. But it's a real chance for the Grizzlies to lay down that defining marker and establishing themselves going forward of this is what we want to be. This hour every day brought to you by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway. We missed you yesterday, Dave. And online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity June sales event. Great offers on 2020 models and always special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus, too. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
So every day, I look at the dashboard, and they added a thing a few weeks ago about vaccines being worked on. Brett, we got another one.
Good. Bring them on. I'll take every one of them.
139 now they're being worked on.
My rear end may not be big enough for 139 injections. Boy, don't flag that tape, Drew.
Can I just say this, since you brought that up? According to the latest medical story I read, it could be we will need 2 shots a month apart.
I'll take them.
And then a booster a year later.
I'll take it.
But your
for
2
us
shots.
To have college football, you can inject me in my eyeball.
Well, I guess for your rear end, you say it needs to be big. You can do one in each cheek. You'll be okay.
Each flank.
Yeah. We did have 87 new cases in Shelby County and 2 new deaths. But if you really look, what did we have? 198 cases on Sunday, and then it was down to like 95 on Monday.
Did you hear the news yesterday in New York City? Yesterday, you know how many deaths?
It's a lower number, right?
0.
Wow, that is huge.
Did you hear? But did you hear the spike at Lake of the Ozarks? St. Louis Post-Dispatch reported.
Oh Lord, I'm afraid to hear that one. What was it?
0.
No spike at all.
0.
Wow. Now I'm really shocked about that one. In Tennessee, a little over 25,000 cases. We've exceeded 400 deaths. Mississippi, 16,560. And again, they're about double the death rate of the state of Tennessee, with about 2/3 of the amount of cases. And in Arkansas, 8,425 cases, 151 have passed. 6.75 million have suffered from this disease worldwide. We've had 395,000 plus deaths, but we've had 3 million recoveries in the United States. Almost 2 million now. 1,932,808. 110,000 have perished. 713,000 have recovered.
In the last 24 hours, you know how many deaths in the state of California, the entire state? 40 million plus.
0?
1.
We're getting there, Brett. We're getting there.
2 in Texas. 15 in the state of New York in the last 24 hours, but in the city of New York City, 0 yesterday. And Dave, we are. And again, I want Main Street well. I want every neighborhood of Main Street well. Black, white, high income, middle income, and I don't want any low income. But today, to see what the Dow did.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm
Don't
sorry.
go anywhere. That's going to be my not top story.
All right, so you want me to go?
Yes, your top story.
My top story. If we have college football, we know how guarded college football teams already are about injury information. And they use HIPAA as the cudgel to not let out any information. So how are we getting all these positive tests with people back in facilities this summer?
Well, they didn't name names, though.
Good point. But how can we get a virus test and we can't find out anything about a knee? I mean, we can't ask about a shoulder.
All they're going to do is tell us they're out. You know what? That once the season starts, seriously, I don't know the answer to this.
Do they name
Will they say we've lost a player due to COVID? Will they do that? I really do not
have
know.
An injury report, strained ham,
I wonder,
tender quad, COVID.
I wonder if the health department will force that public acknowledgement.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. Interesting. Is that your...
Not top story of the day.
All right, well, it's good stories, really. Just not at the top. But how about the market up in a big way today? You know what this comes from, don't you? This comes from the news today, and was stunning news. They thought the unemployment numbers were going to go out of the roof.
10 million.
That we might get to 20% unemployment.
It was at 14.7. They were predicting it would go to over 16 with this jobs report.
Right.
That it would be 8 million jobs lost,
Right.
and 2.5 million were gained.
It was 13.3% unemployment just out of nowhere, and that got the market going crazy. The market is closed, and
Over 27.
829 up today. 27,110 at the zenith. Last February, what was the market?
29.3.
29.3. So we're 2,000 from that.
Yeah.
We were down to 18 something. So we
About
have
18.1.
So we have rallied basically 11 or 9,000 back to the better since the pandemic began. That is a great story right there.
It is, and Dave, it also highlights. I mean, we're when we need to be. We've always said safe, smart, and soon. And we want data. We want the smart kids. We want the degreed people telling us stuff. But the same degreed people that have missed on whether or not to wear gloves, whether or not to wear a mask, whether or not to touch surfaces, whether or not to open the economy, we're telling. I mean, every PhD and every economist of any note was predicting 8 million jobs lost, and we gained 2.5 million. They missed by 10.5 million.
Yep. I mean, it's crazy.
Some of the, I mean, I went to one of those frat and football schools, but some of these guys from all and gals from all these degreed and privileged schools, why don't they just say we don't really know? No, any more than we know when we make these football picks on Friday.
I think they should use that as a disclaimer, honestly, and I don't blame them. You know, the reason we love history is because it is used as a forecaster. We can get experience, and then we know how to deal. When you've never had this, and I guess some would say, well, go back to 1918 and the pandemic, the Spanish flu. But the world has changed. Medicine has changed. Even the markets and the economy have changed. The whole structure of unemployment and paying for unemployment has changed. There's no historical basis with which to really make totally accurate predictions. And so there probably should be some sort of disclaimer.
But to miss that much,
Boy,
how much are they missing that much on other things? And we've seen it in this. And look, we miss badly on those football picks, and we're here to answer about it. But they know no more what's going to happen than we do on a Friday afternoon making football picks.
Hey,
my
last top story, just really quick. I want to give a shout, a salute to my friends, the DeWeeses from Gibson Donuts, who were awarded, along with Kelly English, with this award for good deeds from the food industry. A company called Dawn has come up, and the DeWeeses got a big donut trophy, and each little region that gets it gets $10,000. It's being split between Kelly English, who owns Second Line, and his first restaurant that used to be, it's right there on Cooper and Young, and Cooper and Overton Square, Iris. They split $10,000, so I know that Oasis have given $5,000 to the Salvation Army, but it's for the good deeds they did of feeding frontline medical personnel during this pandemic, and so congratulations to them.
Very nice.
Go ahead.
My not top story, very nice, but Englishes and the DeWeeses.
Yeah.
My not top story, Georgia Tech now has announced that they're going to take their entire athletics department will take Election Day off for people to be really concentrated on going and voting, maybe working at the polls. That's a great thing. Earlier this week in a news release, the Grizzlies announced time off with paid time off for you to go vote on Election Day. Great. But now with the new schedule, the Grizzlies aren't even going to be playing on traditional election days, the November one, maybe some primaries and some other elections. And even on the normal election days, the polls are open 7:30 to 7:30.
Right.
You can't go vote before or after work.
Front office people will still be working. And if you can give them a couple hours to go, more power to you.
How long you need?
Sometimes those lines get long. I hope there's a lot of long lines this time. That is for sure. Those are your top and your not top stories. Coming up in a matter of moments, Bruce Marshall from Las Vegas. Of course, that's the Golden Man from the Gold Sheet. Drew Hill, the writer for the Daily Memphian, used to be covering the Tiger beat. I think he still does a little bit, but he is moving over to the NBA and the Grizz. Drew Hill at 4 o'clock. At 4:30 from the Golf Channel, Rex Hoggard. Then at 5 o'clock, Andy Schiffman, our agent. We are busy as we are underway on the Friday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Great news, sports fans. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse is now open for dine-in service. Make a reservation and enjoy a mouth-watering steak dinner. Or, if you prefer, take it curbside. In addition to their fantastic steaks, the Butcher Shop Steakhouse has a variety of entrees, including Canadian lobster tail, crab-stuffed shrimp, pan-seared red snapper, and fresh ground steak burger with portobello mushroom sauce. Planning to cook out? The Butcher Shop Steakhouse offers a great selection of hand-cut fresh steaks, lamb chops, Atlantic salmon, and more. Father's Day is coming soon, so make your reservation for dine-in or pre-order for curbside pickup. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, dine-in, curbside, and delivery. Call us at 757-4244 and visit our website, thebutchershop.com, for menus and more. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, Walnut Grove and Germantown Parkway.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
So, have you noticed how everyone's grammar is completely awful now? Like, you know, the texting and the LOLs. Whatever happened to punctuation? I mean, drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet. In a matter of moments, we're in the Family Leisure Studios. I got to tell you that people are going crazy. It's been the greatest couple of months. So many of them are now doing this reservation thing at Family Leisure. You basically make an appointment and wait for them. They'll come outside. They'll bring you in because they are limiting. They're doing a really great job of social distancing. They'll show you around. They'll give you a catalog if you like to do it that way. And then you make your backyard a staycation adventure. Best way I can put it. And, I mean, they got complete pool packages starting at under $1,600. The 24-foot pools are under $2,000. Four-person spas, same price, $19.99. The big swim spas, they started under $10,000. There's high-quality swing sets. They've been discounted all the way from $34.99 down to $21.99. They offer contactless purchasing, deliveries, curbside pickup, all to be safe. You can call, again, schedule that appointment. Then you place your order. Then they're going to bring it to you one way or another. You're going to love it. You're going to love how they keep family and fun all together in your backyard, making it a staycation. That's what they do at Family Leisure. Before we get to Bruce, there is just one terrible story that has just come out. A worker at the brand-new SoFi Stadium construction site in Inglewood, California, right there in L.A., died at the scene after falling from the roof. Wow. Died at the site.
That is rough. And the texter at 67129 at the First Bank text line corrects me. I'm sorry, I did have it messed up. They are not going to have 1 through 16. They're going to go divisions, and that's why the Grizzlies are currently listed to be the 8th seed at 4-7. That's the best odds.
Wow.
4-7. Portland 5-2. New Orleans 3-1. Sacramento 12-1. San Antonio 18-1. Phoenix 250-1. Mavericks 500-1. To win it all, the Grizzlies are. You want to guess? To win it all.
400-1.
200-1. Very good, Dave.
That's not very good. It's way off.
Go,
Bruce.
Go to Left Memphis and put your Hunsky on it,
Yeah.
and then put that $20,000 in your pocket. Won't that be a hell of a story to tell?
That would be a great story. That would be a great story. Bruce Marshall from the Gold Sheet joins us now. I want to talk about odds on all that and everything else, but I want to start with the odds on who's going to coach. So, Greg Popovich is 71 years old, which is hard to believe, but 71 years old. And Greg Popovich has a team, what did you just say they are? To win?
Way back.
Yeah.
I got out of it. San Antonio, 500-1.
500-1. Bruce Marshall, is he going to coach? Would you have him coach?
Yeah. I mean, unless he doesn't want to. I mean, for these few games they're going to play in Orlando. I mean, what the heck? If he wants to, yeah. I'm not sure if he if he does or doesn't. The odds are a little surprising that the Grizz though would be better odds than Dallas to win, because Dallas is sitting in a spot above the Grizz. It looks like Dallas is going to.
I got Dallas at 40-1.
40-1 for Dallas.
Oh, okay, 40. Okay, I was thinking you said 400-1 with them. Yeah,
no, that's San
Dallas
Antonio.
being much better. San Antonio. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't bet on San Antonio at all. And who knows about Popovich, who, by the way, was at Air Force when Ben Martin was the football coach, and he remembers that Sugar Bowl team from 1970. I heard him talking about him.
And Tennessee put it on them in the Sugar Bowl.
34-13. Yeah, that was
Bill
Ernie
Battle.
Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he was at Air Force then, and he remembers.
Bruce, I've never asked you this because we always talk odds with you, and I bet I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you. I've never heard you mention a table game or anything else in the casino that you play or like to play or are intrigued by. And Vegas is opening. How in the world are you going to shoot craps with social distancing? And is there any casino game you like? Are you a Keno player?
No, I don't play any of them. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
I don't.
Because you can't win.
No, I can't win. I don't. Frankly, I don't like going down to the Strip. I don't like the clientele. The people come in. I mean, what happens in Vegas, this is in normal times. The people act too crazy down there, and I really don't like to hang around. Now, some of the local places I don't mind hanging around a little bit more, but I don't play the table games. They are opening now, though, and they're spacing people out and wearing masks. I don't know how crowded they are. I don't know if they've opened the nightclubs yet, but I think that would actually be a pretty fun challenge. The way these nightclubs are, if you have to wear a mask in there, it's sort. I mean, can you imagine that? And you wouldn't know what anybody looked like really. That would lead to some pretty funny stuff. I think.
What about?
Sounds like a Tom Cruise movie.
You know, also the intrigue. What about wearing gloves to throw dice?
Yeah, I guess so. If
you had a big pair of gloves, you could maybe swap the dice out or something.
Be careful; they're going to be watching.
I get, that. Yeah, I mean the glove. I don't know. There's a lot of. It's odd to envision. I'm going to have to just walk into one of these casinos now and look and see what it actually looks like. I just had people tell me it's very odd, but people all spread out. I mean, it's not. Listen, Vegas and all casinos are based really on human interaction,
right?
And they're removing a lot of that. And until they get back to the old normal, I mean the crowds are not going to come back in near the numbers. What I'm more concerned about for the casinos in longer term, slots, which don't seem to be a big thing anymore, but for you look at a slot machine, the people playing slots generally elderly, and that they flock to the slot machines. Well, those people want to come back to Las Vegas because they've been a little bit more vulnerable, obviously, to the corona. So that's something where they could really get hurt at the casinos if the elderly, and a lot of them come in here, buses and all. I mean, it's big stuff. And I'm sure in Tunica and places like that, they've got the seniors coming in there a lot.
Yeah.
Don't you think
West Memphis, yeah.
People, elderly people in particular, prefer the slot because there is not the pressure of the social interaction, the feeling of competing against a human, of the person next to
Messing
you,
up the cards.
of messing up, of the dealer coming down on them for doing something wrong. When all you got to do with the slot machine
keep hitting that
is
button.
just put the little penny or the quarter or the dollar, whatever you're
Hope it
doing,
lines up
and
right.
pull the darn thing down or hit the button and boop, 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 things happen.
Well, precisely. I mean, my mom, God rest her soul, my Aunt Rose, you should have seen they used to go to play bus trips. I mean, they'd sit for 5-6 hours of it, putting nickels in slot machines. But it's just being in casinos in general, being out in general. I mean, even in the restaurants that are sort of open. I mean, elderly people are not going out as much. And casinos still, even if in a semi-sanitized form, there's still a lot of people in there. I think seniors are going to stay away on these bus trips and things. It's going to take a while before those things
Bruce,
come back.
You're so right. What this has done, first of all, to the people that have perished from it, 111,000 first and foremost, and then the people that are sick, the frontline workers.
Yep.
We know the categories. But for older people that depend on Sunday school, church, the garden club, bingo, going on a casino trip, going out, seeing a grandchild, a child, they've really been deprived of this, and they're already for a lot of them, it makes their day for some interaction, and they haven't been able to have any, and it has been very sad. This has been very destructive psychologically to a lot of people. I said we were going to go through 3 phases: the medical, the financial, and the psychological, and we still will. Bruce, what's the clientele at the big sports books in Vegas on a Saturday and Sunday? What does that look like? Older, younger, middle age? What does that group look like?
Younger mostly. During the week it's a little bit older, especially on the horse race side, and that's a dwindling crowd. That looks like an AARP convention on the horse race side. I mean, they don't sell green bananas to that clientele. But it's generally a younger clientele, younger and middle age. A lot. I mean, it's. Single guys who aren't married yet, come in there with their buddies, and a lot of that in football season. The sports books in Vegas in general are rather uncomfortable during football season. They really are. They're just so jammed, and it's so many of the younger guys in there drinking up a storm and all. And they really populate those places during the football season. But during the weekdays, it's a little bit different. And where there's horse racing, that's an older crowd in the horse race side. And a few of the hotels, sports books, have the horse racing separate. And I know where Brent Musburger's VSiN is at. That's got a completely different horse race portion adjacent to the sports book, and that side is very elderly. But that's pretty much how the demographics break down age-wise at the sports books.
What do they project in Vegas in terms of revenues and the tax dollars those bring in? How much will they lose here in the short term before we get back to normal, if we do get back to normal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I know they projected it down. I know that the Gold Sheet, we've projected it down. I mean, we're thinking probably 20% less. So you kind of budget accordingly for that. And that's assuming college football is going to play. And that we're still not sure about. So they've had to adjust it down. And that's the other thing. A lot of the people who have not been working are not going to get called back quite yet, because they're certainly not running anything close to full capacity at any of these places in Vegas. And I bet that's probably the same thing in West Memphis, Tunica, and down in the Gulf Coast there in Biloxi and such, that they're not running full capacity, and they won't for a while. But I'm sure they're projecting budgets downward here, and they have to really for a while until they get back to the old normal. The new normal doesn't work for casinos other than just keeping people safe short term here. That can't be the new normal forever like that, where you've got people wearing masks and people spaced apart like that. That would be almost a death knell, I think, to the casinos. So they're hoping that doesn't have to last too long.
Bruce, it is hard enough when you join us on Football Fridays and you make your picks and you put them out there at the Gold Sheet and you put your name by them. It's hard enough when you know everybody that's playing and you can get a reasonable handle on injury. How are you going to handle, and how will the odds makers to set the line and then maybe adjust them midweek if we had, let's say, a two out of the three first the top two running backs out of the top three at Auburn on a Friday afternoon, they're declared out because of the virus positivity test and what that will do. And then if you don't get the information and they just keep it inside like they do with guarding things with HIPAA.
It's a good question, Brett. You wonder at the outset if they might put more limits on some of the bets. That would be kind of drastic. I don't think they would do that, but I think they're going to be really sensitive to the situation that you mentioned there. As soon as there's a report of anything like that, and because you may get more of that stuff with testing, and then who knows if games are going to be played. But let's just say a guy gets scratched late, they'll pull games off boards. I think you'd see more of that until the information sorts itself and they verify everything. Because I think we're going to be hearing a lot of these sort of, some of the stuff could be false, some might not be, but it's going to really make the odds makers on their toes. And my gut feel is they would be more apt to pull games off the board for a short period of time till they can verify and then put it back up.
I got an issue. You're talking about in September. How about starting in July? How about starting with these NBA games when?
Well, for sure, Dave.
If LeBron, God forbid, any superstar goes down, how does that change the way the thing goes off? And and what if it's like, no, this is unfair of Alabama because they were all just still coming in. They hadn't been quarantined together or anything else. But what if it's five guys
on the Friday before the LSU game?
I'm just talking about, let's just say we're in the middle of a series and five Lakers come down with COVID.
Yeah, and Bruce,
what do you cancel the series?
And what's the choke point for canceling the series? That a cluster, a hot spot?
Yeah, it's going to have to be determined, but I think the same rules would sort of apply, at least from the sports books on these NBA games, and maybe when they're starting as it would the football. They will be very sensitive to that. They will be pulling games off left and right. It was hard enough for the odds makers in the NBA, and before all this, the Corona stuff happened, when you didn't know some teams, some of the guys, when the star guys would and wouldn't play. Many times that was sort of announced in advance. You knew Kawhi wouldn't be playing this night, or LeBron, or whoever it might be. But sometimes you didn't, and it would be a late scratch sort of thing. But now the Corona stuff makes it a lot more difficult. On top of other things, if they get this thing going in Orlando the way they should, home court, there's not many fans there, so and home court seems to mean a lot more in the NBA than other sports. You kind of dismiss that. If there is one thing they have seen over in the soccer that's been played in Germany thus far in the Bundesliga, the home field hasn't made much difference. It improved a little bit.
It's just a pitch, Bruce.
Yeah, it could. I mean, the first two rounds they had in the Bundesliga, which was 18 games, only 3 home sides won. A little bit more in the third round last weekend, but
aren't they piping in crowd noise too?
Most places they were. It's a very interesting dynamic when you watch one of these things on TV, because you hear noise, you hear a public address announcer, and you hear crowd chanting, and then there's nobody in the stands. So,
will they simulate a ride in the stands?
Well, here's what they ought to do in the NBA to make home court advantage or home court. Have crowd noise
and have the organ grinding like at Madison Square Garden.
So if the team's got the ball, there's a buzz in the crowd, and if the bucket's made, there's a cheer. You could even have boos going out there when the other team has the ball. If you're trying to simulate it.
I guess you could. Now, I know, this Orlando, the wide world of sports where they're going to have this. And my daughter lives right next to that thing there, so I've seen it, and I've seen where they play that Thanksgiving tournament there. Right. And they've got two other venues there. And it's right near where the Braves used to have their spring training until this March. And so there's 3 venues there. One of them, they can play 2 games at once. That'd be kind of hard to pump in crowd noise there. And the place where they play the college tournament Thanksgiving, it's about a 5,000-seat arena. It's not that big. But they could do something with the crowds, I guess. But it's one of the logistic things there.
I believe, and we'll check at 5:00. Andy Schiffman, our agent, is going to be on. But I'm pretty certain the two venues, they're going to play one game in each venue. The other outside venue, I think that's going to be their training facilities, because there's like 16 courts there, and so you can every team will have their own.
Adam
little court.
Silver had a good plan. Bruce, where are you this week? Where's your emotion? It's been a roller coaster. Where are you on the on-time college football start and the conclusion at the normal time college football ending?
I'm feeling a little bit better about it, although you hear a couple of these reports like the Alabama report this week. Well, at least these guys, got flagged for the corona and started June, so hopefully by mid-June they'll be done. There seems to be sentiment that college football will be played, but I still think it may not be uniform. There's still some holdout schools and holdout states and conferences that may do this a little bit differently. But I'm having a pretty good feeling they're going to give it a go in most of the leagues, maybe the whole thing. But I think there's a greater chance that it starts with not every school or conference participating. And like I said, there's some states. Listen, California is going to have to rescind, at least for the Cal States, not the UCs, not Berkeley or UCLA, but the Fresno, San Jose, and San Diego State. They've already announced they're not going on campus in the fall, and they said, well, we're not going to have football for nobody's on campus. Those schools are a little bit more commuter schools than others, but nonetheless, no students on campus. And California would sort of have to rescind that, or the Mountain West could be down 3 teams right off the bat. So we'll see, but I think I have a pretty good feeling we're going to have something of a college football season in the fall.
Last thing, you got 30 seconds baseball, and there's a good story by Jeff Passan on ESPN.com that shows you just how much baseball has to lose. What's your sense? Are we going to have a baseball season?
I'm getting more worried about it by the day, because the financials, they just don't seem to be close, but it always seems that way in labor strife. This has been compressed in a shorter period of time. They usually figure out a way to solve it, but baseball hasn't a couple of times, and that's what worries me, and they may burn this thing down. So I am genuinely more worried about baseball than the other sports right now, for sure.
Bruce Marshall, how do we get more of you?
Goldsheet.com. Check us out there this weekend. I'll have some Bundesliga picks up at the VegasInsider.com as well.
You've never said that before.
I want a big 5-team parlay on the Bundesliga
it goes
this weekend,
to show
Bruce.
you where we are, buddy. We're talking Bundesliga. Wow. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Have a great weekend.
Okay, have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Man, times have changed. Always sweet talking to Bruce Marshall. Oh, that reminds me of Dinstall's The Summer Sizzler specials here again this week. It's a traditional favorite, chocolate pecan fudge, a rich, creamy fudge made with fresh cream and rich chocolate, available with or without pecans. I like it with. Voted as the #1 fudge in America. We know it's the #1 fudge around here, but America we're talking. Great for just nibbling or melt it. Pour it over your favorite ice cream for the best hot fudge sundae you ever had. And don't forget, Dinstall's is going to be there for you for Father's Day. It's right around the corner. I would go with Cashew Crunch or Turtlettes, and that's what she is saying you should do too. That's Becky. Dinstall's is ready to help with all the chocolate therapy you might need. Stores are open to customers as well as curbside pickup every Monday through Saturday from 10 until 5 in Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierville, and Pleasant View. Back in just a minute, we put a wrap on hour #1 of this Friday edition of Sports Time.
Want to get your voice heard? Hit us up on the First Bank phone line or First Bank text line.
Hi, I'm Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Five-Ash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. 5 Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Central Barbecue is committed to the health and safety of this community, who has supported Central for almost 20 years. Central Barbecue is still open for business with to-go and delivery options to serve the greater Memphis area with the same great barbecue you have come to know and love. With 4 locations to serve you, from downtown, midtown, and East Memphis, you can order your favorite barbecue and enjoy everything on the menu in the comfort of your own home. Call your nearest Central Barbecue location for more information on delivery and to-go options today.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
That was one quick first hour. Drew Hill's going to join us on the other side at the top here. We look forward to talking to the young journalist from the Daily Memphian. We're just talking a little bit of baseball, Brett, and I know you've read that Jeff Passan's story.
Yeah, frightening.
Tell me, I just want to be sure I read this thing right.
You read it right.
Each Major League Baseball team on an average. Now in New York and L.A., it's more money than it is in Kansas City and Milwaukee, that's for sure. But each team makes about $1 million per game telecast on TV. That's a lot of money.
It's 162.
That's 162. They're just saying we don't care about, right? That, it has nothing to do with the much more millions they'll make from the sponsorships that they get from national TV. But that's not money you can just sneeze away, and that's what they're doing right now.
They are, and maybe it's darkest before dawn, but I don't think so. I mean, we've heard from smart people that have joined us, less news the better. Don't play it out in public. Bruce just alluded to it might be darkest before dawn. Does it feel that way to you?
No.
What's your gut say?
I'm going to tell you, I think we have a smart guy on every Wednesday. And when Professor Horo tells me, I still got some hope and I'll know better next week, it is not as strong a statement as he was making before.
Tim Doolin was
about silence.
Very, I won't say pessimistic, but yielding more pessimistically than optimistically. And Tim is plugged in, Rick's plugged in, Bruce is plugged in. When I hear those people all – if you're a baseball fan, you're scared to not sleep with the light on right now.
Well, if this is the darkest hour, they've really hidden any hope, because usually you get some sort of inkling with rhetoric, right?
Yeah. Can the weekend?
I'm not getting any rhetoric. I mean, they just basically said, we don't accept your 114-game proposal and nothing else.
I swear, I've awakened in the night and first thing in the morning a couple of times lately and thought, well, let me look at the Twitter machine, and it's that breaking news from Peter Gammons or Jeff Passan or Nightingale or Rosenthal or Bob Costas of breakthrough. They're down to the last 3 or 4 details. Be prepared to report. Baseball will be back July 4th weekend, and it's just not even close.
Sure doesn't seem that way. It sure
and it hurts. I miss it badly.
I know.
I tell people when I tell you baseball is my favorite sport, I'm not kidding. It really is, and this has hurt me.
Well, I saw a good friend of yours yesterday, George Bryan, who owns Old Waverly in Muskie Oak.
Baseball's his
down
favorite.
in West Point. And he said, I know this is killing Brett.
We've commiserated about it.
That's an hour in the books. I'm looking forward to talking to Drew Hill, who's sliding over from the Tigers to the Grizzlies for the Daily Memphian. Him's thoughts on Moussa Cisse and a whole lot more, by the way, on the Cisse decision. It's on delay. I wonder which way he thinks this is going to go. Stick around, folks. He's next.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Hi, folks. Bob Burkhammer for Sunrise Buick GMC Truck. Lots of vehicles to choose from at Sunrise. Trucks, SUVs, late model used cars, and cars under $10,000. Rebates up to $6,500. Interest rates low as 0% and immediate financing available. Come on in, call, or go online to sunrisememphis.com. You can schedule an appointment, select your vehicle, appraise your trade-in, arrange financing and delivery. We'll deliver right to your doorstep. All cars disinfected and ready to go. Need service or body work? Bring it to Sunrise or go online to schedule an appointment. Sunrise, Covington Pike, Wolf Chase, and Collierville.
Restrictions may apply. Plans and costs for coverage may vary. Call Protect My Car for details.
These days, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a car, truck, or SUV made from 1999 or higher, you could stop paying for car repairs. That's right. You might not have to pay a penny to have it repaired. Just dial ** 1147 in your mobile phone now to see if you qualify. You must have an automobile made from 1999 or higher, and all repairs for your engine, transmission, and much more before it can become a thing of the past. Dial star 1147 on your mobile phone today and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. That's right, total protection for your car and no more repair bills. Plus, free roadside assistance, free towing, free car rental, and free oil changes. Just dial star 1147 on your mobile phone now to see if your car qualifies. That's star 1147. Never pay for car repairs again. Just dial star 1147 on your mobile phone now. Dial star 1147.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in on a rainy, summery kind of June the 5th. Friday, weekend's almost here. It's a day where the stock market went crazy with the stunning news of the unemployment being much, much better than anybody had anticipated.
You want to hear some spooky numbers?
Give them to me.
Today is 85 days without the traditional sports. I know we've had some MMA and the kind of funsies, golf and NASCAR, but with what we primarily keep up with, 85 days without it, 85 days until the start of college football.
Halfway, you could say.
Well, this 85 is going by slow. I hope this next 85 doesn't go by that slow.
I don't think the next 85 could go any slower than these last ones. I can promise you this. Hadn't been slow for our friend Drew Hill. What a meteoric rise this year.
Very busy.
He's young guy, came here quickly, went from one newspaper to the other, went from now the Tigers to the NBA. Drew Hill, always fun to chat with you. How are you today? How are you holding up?
Congratulations
in this pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks guys. I'm great, and I would say we can't be halfway, Dave, because we've got the NBA coming back.
That's right, Drew.
Before college football.
Oh, that's right.
And will you get to go on site, Drew, or will you have to be satellite reporting?
That's to be determined. I'm hoping, that I can go there.
Me too.
I think the Basketball Writers Association and the NBA are still working some things out, and there will be a few different options. But the hope is
you might
that
get
I'll
on
be there.
site and be satellite. You might not be at the games, but you might be like in a sequestered biosphere media room. But Drew, that would be great, and you could probably pick up writing for a lot of other places while you're there, including your post, the Daily Memphian, and that would almost be fun because it's going to be Summer League times a million.
Oh yeah, I fully expect that it's going to be totally crazy, and I think there is some sort of plan or agreement in place that will let some media into these games. It's just a matter of how many and which media are going to be allowed to go. And like I said, there's a lot to work out, but I know it's being worked out right now. And I'm hopeful that in the end, and given the pricing, I'm sure it's expensive if you're going to live in a bubble and you're going to need to be tested all the time. All that will work out. And, in beginning early July, mid-July, I'll be at the happiest place on earth.
Yes, sir.
Basketball.
I imagine the criteria for this is going to be pretty stringent. So you're going to have to go down 2 weeks early, right? You're going to be quarantined, tested several times, and you won't be able to get out of that bubble. You'll be only doing a hotel room to probably in that hotel restaurant food, and then 2 games, and on a bus with all the same people, and then right back to the same spot, and you'll have to pledge you won't go anywhere except to those destinations. I mean, isn't that the way it works out?
That's basically the way that it works out. And that's why it can be expensive, especially if you're paying for resort food and things like that. And
testing. You're going to have to get tested the same way everybody else is going to have to get tested if there's going to be media there. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty large commitment to go and be a part of that and do it, even if that were to be a possibility. Again, I don't really know the answer to these things yet, but hopefully we do soon.
I'll tip my cap to the Daily Memphian for if they're going to spend that kind of money to keep us all informed. Amen and thank you is what I would say to that. I got to ask you on your old beat, because you're still writing for the Tigers, I guess, until you start this NBA thing. Moussa Cisse today said he wasn't making his decision yet in respect to the protest that we've had because the timing wasn't right. How long do you think this delay will be? And is this all because of a social conscience?
I don't know how long the delay is going to be. I would imagine it's not going to be very long. But I do think that this partly has something to do with the social conscience that you mentioned, just because as of last week, if a kid's going to say, hey, I'm going to make my announcement next week, typically they have a decent idea. I'm not saying anything was complete and that he had already chosen where he was going to go, but they usually have a good idea of narrowing it down and getting it figured out. I would caution and say I don't even know if this recruitment is over, especially now with the delay, but I do think that just generally what's going on in the world it is true that did have some sort of impact on him deciding to push it back. Just you don't want to. I mean, you can make the announcement, but at the same time, there are more important things going on right now. So, if you want, I guess, your own shine here and your moment, it's not really the best time for that. And I don't know if that matters to Moussa or not, but just speaking generally, it just feels like it would be better timing to have it, a little bit down the road a little bit.
Drew Cade Cunningham, who probably was the number one player and probably would be the number one player next year in the NBA draft, very talented player, signed, set, sealed, delivered to go to Oklahoma State, and then they get smacked. He will probably be granted immediate free agency. The Tigers were really never that involved with him. Is that Kentucky the front runner for him?
I guess so. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the idea of maybe going and doing the whole professional route at this point, because he did sign a national letter of intent, and if he was a part of the program, again, we've talked about this, like Lance Thomas, his program, he wasn't allowed to play in the NCAA tournament his first year, transferred, and his coach got fired, and he transferred and didn't get a waiver. And so if it works out that way where he can go play wherever, obviously Kentucky is a place to watch, although Kentucky does have some very talented guard recruits. They've got Terrence Clark along with BJ Boston, and both of those players are really good players that are sort of similar to Cade. I wouldn't rule out the G League thing. I think it's appealing to a lot of different recruits at this point, and maybe if it's not going to work out in the college ranks, who knows? If they want to offer Cade a big contract and have him, just go straight to being a part of the NBA's development, then maybe that's an option. But to be fair, I'm not exactly plugged in with Cade Cunningham's camp because he's been a lock for Oklahoma State for a really long time.
Well, the interesting aspect of that is there's no guarantee, if we're really being honest, that there is going to be a college basketball season next year. We think there is, but we do know that if he signs with the G League, that's guaranteed money like Jalen Green got. And so it would make sense to me if I were directing that young man. This is a sure thing. The other thing we don't know, you could be sitting out for a year without getting anything, and this way you'll at least be getting developed if that is the case. I want to go back to Cisse for just 1 second. Is this sort of a more bizarre story, or is this sort of more routine in your mind? I think everybody in Memphis thought when Moussa Cisse came from New York to Memphis to play basketball at Lausanne that there was a connection with the Tiger program and that he would sign with the Tigers. Florida State entered, and that was another place he took a visit, and he must have liked Leonard Hamilton or he liked Tallahassee, and so I could understand he had a leaning there. out of nowhere, as we get down to the 11th hour here, all of a sudden LSU, a place he's never visited, is in the fold.
That's Will Wade taking a shot, Drew.
Well, what is your sense of this whole thing with him?
Well, I think the LSU thing, it goes back to his family ties. He has a brother who played for an LSU assistant coach, Billy Armstrong, and so I think that really has a lot to do with it. Like, potentially LSU was recruiting the right people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If his brother has any sort of influence in terms of what Musa is going to decide, but it seems like they have a really good relationship, and that he trusts the coaching staff there because of that. And so I think, and I don't want to say LSU came in at the last second, because I think that they've sort of been a threat here for a few months, not really in the last couple of weeks, but that obviously has plays a big part in why a lot of people believe that LSU, if you look at the predictions right now from the recruiting analysts and such, most of them have him going to LSU. But I've been saying for the last 2 weeks now that I would caution that a little bit, just because I don't think that this thing's completely over. I just think that in a way you can't count Memphis out here. He moves down here. They have a great relationship between the coaching staff and Musa. They've been at a lot of his games. They have a really good relationship with that family. They're right here. And so there's no way to say that Memphis is completely out of this. I just don't think that this is over with. And I think in the end, Memphis is going to push really, really hard down to the last minute to get him. And if it isn't Memphis, then it's just going to be, I think it's going to come down to the family ties that he has with LSU here. So it's going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening.
If I recall correctly, by age, he could not be a part of the G League elite team, right? He has to go to college. By reclassifying when he did, I don't think he's old enough to be part of that other setup.
To be honest, I'm not exactly sure, but I think I remember Jonah Jordan did a piece on Musa Cisse a couple weeks ago, and he either wrote or said to me at one point that it was potentially an option, like that somebody had reached out, but I don't know. You could be correct there in terms of it's not an option, but I expect that he's going to go to college. At this point, I haven't heard anything to suggest that he would go the pro route, even if he could so far. I've only heard things about, picking colleges, and most of the talk is between Memphis and LSU.
Drew, I've defended Coach Hardaway. Well, it hadn't been much criticism. I don't know that it's still in the honeymoon phase, but I've defended against some of the critics on the recruiting from this point of view. The recruiting dynamic today is far different than the day he took the job. And sometimes, when you get halfway in the middle of a game and they kind of change the rules on you, that can be a lot of consternation for him. And I feel like there's frustration with him, is that I signed up to do this, and now I'm having on the fly to learn to do this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's frustration there, and most of it comes with the G League, because Memphis for a really long time felt like Jalen Green was going to sign with the Tigers. Like, it was going to happen. It was just a foregone conclusion that when it came time to pick, it was going to be Memphis. And he's even said, since he decided to go with the G League, that it was going to be Memphis. And so, yeah, the game is changing, and there's definitely frustration there from Penny. I think there was more. It extends beyond Penny. I think there's frustration there from Mike Miller, who just resigned and decided he wanted to be with his family. But the game has completely changed, and to think that doesn't have an impact on their happiness or even their mindset going forward, it just hasn't worked out the way that everybody really thought. I mean, they signed that number one recruiting class, and everybody got really excited, and then the James Wiseman NCAA saga started, and so that kind of changed things. And then now you feel like you've got your next James Wiseman, Jalen Green, another guy who could be the number one overall pick in 2021, or at least had a chance to. and he gets pulled out from under you at the last second by the NBA. And so the game has just continued to change, and the criticism of Penny in that aspect isn't exactly fair, especially this year, because he could not have predicted that the NBA was going to change their approach to how they're going to look at these high school kids and start offering big money contracts and a different option besides college basketball. And I think what we've seen is that a lot of kids are willing to listen at least to what the NBA has to say. So, yeah, the frustration's warranted, and the criticism is a little bit, I don't know. It's not completely fair.
Do you think the honeymoon is over?
No, I think generally people still and people still have a lot of faith in what Penny can accomplish. Now, I'll say this. We don't know what's going to happen in this NCAA case. We have no idea at the moment. And so if they get hit really hard and it becomes something where, you may not be playing in a postseason tournament for a year or something, I don't know. Maybe that changes things. But I think right now, generally people still have a lot of trust and faith in what Penny's doing. And as long as he can keep the kids here that are really talented players, and we'll see if that happens, then he can build a successful team in the American Conference and win a lot of games. I still believe that. And so I don't think that people are giving up on Penny yet, or even, just leaning the wrong way, I guess. But I think generally a lot of people still have a lot of support for him and think that he'll do a good job.
I think your point well taken, too. When Penny and Mike Miller got into this, they thought, okay, we're taking on Mike Krzyzewski. We're taking on John Calipari. We're taking on Roy Williams. Mm-hmm. But they had no idea they would be taking on
Adam
an
Silver.
NBA G League elite team with a structure when they first took over that nobody had any idea. And in my mind, this is the NBA's way of still keeping a one and done and only investing in 7, 8, 10 elite players to see who really is good. So the model has definitely changed. Is that what caused Mike Miller to leave, or does Mike really just want to do something different?
I think Mike just wants to do something different, but I also think it'd be a little naive to think that, the fact that that the game has changed didn't impact it at all. I think that Mike has other aspirations. Maybe he goes on to be a college coach. Maybe he goes on to, represent players or work in an NBA front office. Or there's thousands of opportunities out there. He's Mike Miller. Everybody likes Mike Miller. He's a super nice guy, really plugged in. He's a guy that can pick up the phone and call LeBron James, and LeBron James will answer him. He's got plenty of options out there. But I just think that, and he also has a kid who's going to be a senior in high school. This is like a very important time in Mason's life, and he's got another kid who's in high school playing high school basketball. And I think this just made sense because he doesn't want to be a college assistant coach forever, and who can blame him for that? And especially after you put all this work in to try and land guys like Greg Brown and Jalen Green, only to have those things not really go your way in the end. Of course, that stings a little bit. I'm sure it did. But I don't think you can blame him for feeling a little bit stung by those things if he was. And I think that this is more a family decision than anything else, probably.
Drew, if and when you hit Orlando and you have your name on that byline from Orlando on that first Grizzlies story, what do you want it to be?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I would say, I don't know. I hope it's a game against the Trailblazers where Ja Morant scores 50 points.
Triple-double?
I'll be honest. I think, part of the appeal of taking the Grizzlies is being able to cover some young superstars, and Ja Morant's already international, And so I would love to just be able to get down there and say, look at how strange this is. This is so weird, but guess what? Ja Morant's still awesome. I think that'd be a story that everybody wants. And I talked about this today. I did a podcast with Chris Harrington, and we sat down and talked about what this thing's going to look like. I don't think anybody has any idea. But in a way, it would have been great to have the Lakers fanfare here if you were the 8th seed and have LeBron James come to town for 2 games and get the city all fired up. But in a way, I think this is going to be special too, because we're so starved for basketball right now and for something, that this is going to be an experience to sit down and say, oh my gosh, we're actually watching basketball again after all these days, literally months of no basketball, and we missed March Madness and we missed the NBA playoffs when we were supposed to watch it, and now we finally have this. I think it's going to be an experience, and I think we'll all be together on social media during that time, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool, that moment.
It'll be fun, just the 8 games, to see what's going on. I and my partner here, Brett Norsworthy, don't quite see the scenario the same way. I think in some form here, you could say the Memphis Grizzlies got a good deal out of this, because there's 2 playoff positions they're going for, no road games, and if their schedule is tough, it's not up against the easy schedule New Orleans was going to have, because the Pelicans, half the teams they were going to play aren't down in Orlando, and there's no road games. You're not going to Portland twice. You're not going to New Orleans. So I kind of think it's a good deal.
I thought Dave thought good.
What do you think?
I think it's a great deal, because I'll say it this way. I don't think it's really fair to compare what they are doing now to what the situation was before, because when you look at this, the circumstances are so extraordinary, right? You just know going in that nothing is going to be the same.
Yeah.
And no matter how they choose to do it, if they just run the playoffs the way they usually would with the 16 teams, East and West, then you just eliminated the Lakers' home court advantage for the entire playoffs that they played all those games for, to try and win and earn home court advantage. That's gone.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. It's just come out right now. The NBA Players Union moments ago approved the 22-team restart on July 31st. So the 8 games per team before the playoffs will begin in Orlando, because the owners voted it in yesterday, and today the Players Union moments ago voted it in. So, Drew, you got your chance to go to Orlando.
And 2020 has been the year of guarantees, Drew.
Yeah. Hopefully, to quote, hopefully go to Orlando. Yeah. That's the hope. But no, yeah, I think back to what we were talking about before with whether or not the Grizzlies got screwed. I think it's a great position for them for a number of reasons. The first is the schedule, like you've mentioned. The Blazers were going to have 6 games against teams that didn't get invited to Orlando. The Kings had 5 games, I believe, and the who am I leaving out? And the Pelicans had 4. So with all of those games, they lose all those easy games, and
right.
The Grizzlies only had 1 left, and it was a home game against the Knicks on April 1st. So the schedule gets tougher for all your opponents. Yeah, you might have to win 1 game out of 2 games, 1 out of 2 if you're the 8 seed, because it's double elimination. That's fine. But the truth is, if you're the 8 seed and you're playing against the 9 and you can't win 1 out of 2 games, do you really deserve it anyway? You should be able to win 1 out of 2.
And the truth is, you're now playing for 2 spots, not 1.
Exactly. So I think that it's a good deal for the Grizzlies, and my sense from my conversations I've had is that they were pretty satisfied with the way that it worked out.
Last thing for Drew Hill, who's making the transition from Tiger beat writer to Grizzlies beat writer for the Daily Memphian, and that is the news today. Oklahoma State got hammered. 3 years probation, 1 year postseason ban, loss of 3 scholarships through 2023, and the associate head coach, Lamont Evans, gets a 10-year show cause. This is the first real action from that FBI probe. Kansas, Louisville, North Carolina State, South Carolina, TCU, USC, they're all involved in this thing. Do you think all these other schools will get the same sort of penalties?
Yeah, I do. I think there's going to be heavy penalties for all of these schools that are involved. Again, the NCAA doesn't do much consistently, but punishments, I think if all these schools are involved in the same way, you're going to see similar punishments in almost every single case. And it's going to be crazy. I really do. I think that a lot of these schools are probably going to end up getting hammered at the end.
Wow. Wow. He is Drew Hill. He writes for the Daily Memphian, and
Best
hopefully
wishes,
we'll
Drew.
be reading his byline from down in Orlando, Florida, starting July the 31st. Congratulations, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yep. Thanks, Dave and Brett.
Thank you.
Drew Hill. Brought to you in part, actually our title sponsor for this hour. The program is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch and Genesis of Olive Branch. Same building, right there at Craft Road and at Highway 78, Lamar. Been there forever, getting bigger all the time. We're getting more of the Genesis product in. Soon there will be an SUV. Right now I'm driving a G70, the fastest, best performance car I have ever had. And you can get 0% financing for 84 months on that car, or a Santa Fe Hyundai, a Veloster. So many different products right now, 0% financing for 84 months. You never pay interest on your note. And on some select models, we'll start with 120 days before you have to make your first payment. Some it's 90. There's always a deal. But we understand the pandemic has left you maybe a little short on cash right now. Back to work you go. We saw those unemployment rates today. We know it's getting better. You might have a lot more cash in 120 days. Just so many reasons why they've set the bar for the best way to do car business. It's right there at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. And by the way, I talk about the safety and the performance of these cars. How about the durability? Every car gets a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Don't just take my word for it. Please go down and talk to Chris True and all the gang. They've all been there forever, it seems. You'll understand why we all love Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. We'll switch gears in just a minute. Rex Huggard from the Golf Channel. He's going to talk Schwab. He's going to talk this season. He'll talk galleries. We've got all that coming your way next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Oh, my stomach.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Try new Pepto-Bismol Chews. The same fast relief of Pepto-Bismol, now in a delightful chew.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
You can get podcasts of all our daily shows and all of our biggest interviews delivered right to your inbox just by signing up at sports56whpq.com. It's the best way to stay informed on what's going on in sports, and it's brought to you by Surfacapes Concrete Floors. Garage, restaurants, office, retail, and industrial floors, Surfacapes does them all, as well as pool decks. Call 901-888-5000 or go to surfacapes.com. Get full shows and the best interviews from Sports 56 delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up at sports56whpq.com.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
With us from the Golf Channel, and last summer here in Memphis, if I could have gotten down the right phone number, we would have had him here, and we hope to have him here this year with us. And Dave, we are just now seeing the news of at the Memorial, Governor Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, will allow crowds at the Memorial. That will be the first one. But we know next week at the Schwab has to go well. Rex Hoggard from Golf Channel, he joins us now. Rex, thank you so much for your time. And there's a lot of breaking news, including the deadline for next week. And I don't think anybody's really thinking Tiger Woods will throw his name in the hat for next week. But it's a great field there and a lot to cover. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. I hope you guys are well. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody expected Tiger. I think, but the news is just the best field Colonial has ever had in the history of the event. If you think about how long the history of that event goes back, how many great players have won that event, it's the best field, strength of field-wise, on tour this entire season. That includes the World Golf Championships and Tiger's event in L.A. and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So you get an idea that guys are ready to come back, right? I mean, they're tired of sitting around just like the rest of us. And it's amazing to think how good that field is going to be and how many guys have really bought in to what the tour is selling. And they're selling the idea that we're going to make this as safe as possible, and that they've been very straightforward, and you can't mitigate all the risk, but I think the tour's done a very good job of keeping the players and everyone else informed and making sure that the plan that they do have is very detailed and very thorough.
A couple of weeks ago, the governor of Texas made a bold move and said, for outdoor events, we'll allow 25% capacity of stadiums filled. So that means the baseball teams could have, if they're playing locally, baseball's not going to allow it, but they could, if they start again, have crowds 25%. Was there ever any thought by the commissioner, by anybody, the folks at Schwab, to try and allow galleries for this event?
I don't know if I can say there was never any thought. But if you look at the speed with which we got back a response from the tour when we asked, well, okay, the government has opened it up. The governor says you can't have some fans on property. And within 30 seconds, I had an email saying that, no, that will not happen. And so I think they were prepared. They'd probably given it a little bit of thought. At this point, it's an infrastructure story because they've been planning for Colonial without fans now for months. They've come up with all of these different protocols. And I think everyone involved was just going to be much more comfortable if they went with what they've been working on all this time.
Rex, next week, what do you think the biggest fear that Commissioner Monahan, the tour, TV part, what do you think the biggest fear, if they can avert this next week and finish on Sunday and have a champion, what's the one they want to make sure they dodge?
Multiple positive tests for COVID-19.
Of players?
Sure. Players, caddies, officials, media, whoever it might be. And there's going to be layers and layers of testing. And again, I can't applaud the tour's program enough. I mean, they've spent a lot of time working on this, and it's very thorough. However, like I said before, you can't mitigate all the risks. And if one person tests positive, caddy, if the players, whatever the case may be, there are protocols in place. If two people, we can keep going down the line. At some point, though, and I've had numerous players tell me this, that we're going to reach a tipping point. If we end up with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players, whatever that number is, that's going to be a problem. And what you don't want to do is shut everything back down again and start from zero. The tour does not want that to happen.
We're talking to Rex Hoggard from the Golf Channel. I'm curious, if you are covering the Schwab, what kind of protocol do you as a media member have to go through?
They sent out a list. I am going to be at Colonial. I'm going to be at Hilton Head, too, the second week.
All right.
For the second tournament, they sent out a very extensive list of the things we're going to be allowed to do and not allowed to do. The media is not inside the quote-unquote bubble that the tour has created. We aren't going to testing protocols that the tour has gone through, the caddies, the officials, and as far as interaction with the players, there isn't going to be the normal walking up to a guy on a range before a round or stopping him in the parking lot as he's getting to his car to ask him about his round. There isn't going to be any of that. The interviews early in the week, Tuesday and Wednesday at least, will be via Zoom calls, a lot like they've already been, and we've sort of created a standard for that. And then as we get into the competition Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there is a hope, and we've talked with media officials, and I think what's going to happen is you will have what they're calling kind of a flash area, which we've seen it sort of in other sports and in politics, where you have someone up on a podium, and then you have a handful of reporters, 10, let's say, and they're socially distanced, 6 feet apart, whatever the case may be, and they're all wearing PPE. And I think that's the hope right now.
Will you be tested?
We weren't required to be tested. We weren't sent tests by the PGA Tour. I was personally tested just because I had peace of mind. But no, we weren't. We didn't have to be tested.
You are a Marine. There's never a former Marine. You served in the Marines, always a Marine. How painful was the test? Marines can take a lot. How painful was the test?
You know what? I was reading, and I'm actually going to spend a lot of time with the caddy for Ryan Palmer, James Edmondson. He put something on Twitter today, like talking about how painful it was, and it felt like he was scratching the back of his eye. And I was kind of like, I think I must have taken a separate test. It wasn't that bad. I don't know. Maybe I was just more concerned about the outcome.
That's interesting. There are different tests. There are the kind that are described where they take that swab and they take
your brain.
Touch your brain, and it's very uncomfortable. My wife went, and she actually administered it herself with a rotation of 5 times in each nostril, so help me God, and then hands it to the nurse who's got gloves on. She's got her gloves on, and that wasn't uncomfortable at all. So I guess it's just a matter of which way you decide that you are going to take the test. The first, I guess I want to go back to the organization of the PGA Tour on all of this. When the John Deere in Illinois decided not to go forward with the tournament because of Governor Pritzker's decision about mass gatherings in the state of Illinois, I mean, they didn't miss a beat. They had a sponsor on hand ready to go, and Jack Nicklaus said, just stay 2 weeks at my place, which to me was incredible. I mean, it'll be the first time I can remember that you're going to play 8 rounds on the same golf course for these pros, which will be kind of cool. But they were ready, Rex.
They made it look that way. They certainly did. It was not easy, and I don't want to take anything away from what the tour did. It was a heck of an effort. I had a chance to talk with the tournament director, Claire Peterson, the day after the announcement was made, and I was taken by the idea that when I asked him his emotions was, I'm relieved. They had been talking about this and dealing with this, he said, for 7 or 8 weeks. And so the tour knew this was coming, and they did do a very good job of scrambling at the last minute, as you pointed out, getting a replacement sponsor, and finding an opportunity. And it really is an opportunity to keep the players in one town, one bubble, so to speak, for a 2-week period. It was a win-win all the way around. I mean, I think and John Deere, if you look at the reason they made the decision, this boiled down to the idea that, look, they didn't feel like it was a good fit for their community, and they were going to take these resources, this money, and they were going to give it to the charities in their town.
And Rex, you know, we want to be very positive about things going off well, but we always have scotched everything with realism. But let's say next week goes well and Hilton Head goes well, and we march into crowds at the Memorial, and we get up to Thursday morning, July 30th, Dateline Memphis at the World Golf Classic FedEx St. Jude Invitational. If we do all that, do you think we will be able to have crowds here? I know they're scared of hospitality areas, even media areas, even player press conference areas. They're scared of the recirculated air and the confinement of areas. But do you think we could have fans in attendance at TPC Southwind if everything goes well between now and July 30th?
Absolutely. I mean, if they're going to have fans at Memorial, now how many fans, we don't know yet, but if they have fans at Memorial and it goes off without any big issues, and again, I don't think anyone is expecting no negative tests. I don't think that's realistic given what we know about statistics, given what we do know about the virus. However, if you keep those to a minimum, if you mitigate most of the risk, absolutely, I can see them having fans. And I mean, you brought up a good point. I think from a tournament perspective, you're going to end up with situations where, no, there probably won't be 35,000 people on property, but I could envision tournaments having the Wednesday Pro-Am, because we have seen it now in numerous situations where foursomes can go out and they can play together and they can socially distance and they can enjoy themselves. And you could also have some level of corporate hospitality. I don't know about you guys in Memphis, but last weekend I went out with some friends and we went to a bar. It was an outdoor porch bar, and we socially distanced and we sat and had a beverage. And I think if you're going to have that in society, I don't know why you couldn't have that at a golf tournament.
It's interesting. I have no idea at this point exactly, and I'm not sure they have it nailed down yet, what the WGC FESJI is really going to do. Are they going to have corporate tents? Are they going to have ropes where, you know, and there's hills at CPC Southwind where fans can sit? Will they erect stands? None of that is quite clear yet. I hope that they have, like, some hospitality with air conditioning. We got lucky with the weather last year, but usually July and August, it's pretty hot in Memphis. Without AC, you know, that would be incredible. And I guess the Memorial is going to be sort of the blueprint for all of this.
Wait a minute. You guys told me last year that was the normal weather.
We lied. We lied.
Oh, Rex, last year was on Tuesday morning, almost needed long pants on.
To get to your question, yeah, I can definitely envision that. And I think that Memorial will be a litmus test. But before we get there, I think you'll have 4 or 5 or 6 events that you'll be able to look at exactly, see how tournament operations go. I think we'll end up in a situation where they'll have a very good handle. It's one of the best drinking games you can play during this time and age. And I said it the other night on Golf Central. It's a fluid situation. So drink up for all those who have that. It really is a fluid situation.
That surreal, asymptomatic, and what's our other word for word of the year this year? I mean, we've had those. You're right. There's some serious drinking game code words out there. Rex, the Tiger Woods decision coming up here, we feel like he's not going to play there. When do you think we'll see him the first time? At the Memorial?
That's what you would think. And look, there's a lot of opportunities, and as good as he looked in the match, and I know it was just a charity match, and it was fun, you had a partner, and you can talk about all those things. But yeah, it was an outside chance. I thought that he could add maybe Colonial, maybe Hilton Head. But I think if you look at where he is in his life with his body right now, he's perfectly fine playing 12, 13 events this season, and regardless of why that is. And it's because we haven't played for 3 months, essentially. But he is fine with that. What he's going to do is come back at Memorial, at the tournament he's played at quite a bit, and then just keep moving forward. And I can just see him being comfortable playing Memphis and then using that to get ready for the PGA Championship.
That would be a first, though, right? Because he would then be playing the week before a major for the first time in I don't know how long.
It would be a first for him, and he did not play last year. I mean, for a lot of different reasons. I don't know why he wouldn't know. I mean, he's always liked limited field events. I think he would like the idea of kind of putting his body a little bit to the test. And you guys talk about how hot it gets there in July. I don't know. I mean, that's not what I experienced last year, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, that's right. Will we have a Ryder Cup in Wisconsin?
I think so. I was just about to start making phone calls about that because it'll probably be without the fans that we're used to, which in a lot of people's minds wouldn't make it much of a Ryder Cup, but I do think so.
It would be crazy without fans, though. I mean, even Steve Stricker said, what did he say? The word, I think he said it would be a yawner if we didn't have people there.
I don't know if that's the right word I would use because I think surreal. Again, drink up for everybody that's waiting at home. But we've talked about this throughout the entire process. I mean, having no fans at Colonial, okay, we're playing golf again. I could wrap my mind around that, Hilton Head and Fowler's, and keep going down the line. But even the U.S. Open, I'm okay with. The Masters, not sure about that one. And the Ryder Cup, absolutely not sure about that one. It's because the fans lend so much to the experience. I think the Ryder Cup is about the fans. We've seen it every 2 years, every other match. I mean, every match seems to prove it more and more how much that's a meaningful part of the competition. And without it, again, I think you're missing so much of the element.
All right, we do golf picks on this show every week, and we'll actually be able to do that starting next week with the Schwab. And I've been trying to think about players that I think are going to be good right off the bat. Like the kid that came to life in the President's Cup who's been hot, what's his name, Im? I think he's going to be good. Rory's been good. Rahm started to play well. Give me who you think top 4 or 5 guys will be starting with the Schwab next week. Drew Barrett, our producer, do not listen to this. I don't want you having any help on the golf
Now,
picks.
Rex, our producer, is as big an Orioles fan as you are, though, so.
Oh, then have him call me separately. I'll give him a real answer. I think I'll go chalk. I mean, Rory's the easy one because I really believe that I don't think he picks up where he left off. Em is a little bit different situation. He plays so much. I think he'll probably need a couple of events to play his way back into shape. But I was talking with a member at Colonial last week, and Ryan Palmer, who will be playing there next week, and he said the combination of the rough is a little bit thicker this year, and the winds are supposed to blow next week. And he made a comment that single digits under par is probably going to win. It's going to be a very, very difficult test. And my mind immediately went to Brooks Koepka because I just truly believe that he likes those tests. That the harder the golf course, the harder the elements, I think it brings out his best.
And he's healthy finally, right?
You would like to think everyone's healthy right now. You've had 3 months. If you're not healthy, that's on you, man.
Rex, this has been a delight. I hope we can do it again. I hope you get to come to Memphis. I hope we get to come to Memphis, and we'll see you there and have you on again.
I can't wait. Thanks guys for having me on.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Rex Hoggard from the Golf Channel.
And brought to you in part by the good folks at the commissary. I know when the golfers get here, they always like to make the trip to the commissary. And they have two choices now. They had two last year, and they have two now. The new Collierville commissary at Houston Levy and Poplar are the original in Germantown. And everybody loves that Memphis-style barbecue and ribs. Authentic Memphis-style great food slows the way at the Collierville commissary, and the original in Germantown. Begin that barbecue feast with some great appetizers like the cheese plate or the tamales or the barbecue nachos, the smoked chicken wings. They're just terrific. Then dig into the ribs or the barbecue shoulder. Get it chopped or pulled on a sandwich. Right now, you can call it supper time, dinner time right now. You can go right now at either place and get it a big sandwich, or you can get it on a plate. Comes with beans, slaw, deviled eggs, bread as well. You can even order by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. We give away those 6-packs of barbecue here on this show, and everybody loves it from the Collierville and Germantown commissary. And you can always finish it up with the best desserts anywhere. The best lemon icebox pie I've ever had anywhere. Dave loves banana pudding.
Yeah.
I like them both, and you will too. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybarbecue.com in Collierville and Germantown. Great party areas at the new place. Plenty of room for social distancing. You got to start thinking about the college football tailgates, the catering, and the Germantown and Collierville commissary. It's been done the right way, in Memphis style, with the barbecue and with the service by our friend Walker Taylor at the Collierville commissary at Houston Levy and the original in Germantown.
The USL voted to resume play. That means 901 FC is going to be back on the pitch. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char-broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We based our ribs on a plate and sprinkle our seasoning all over them.
So, Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis in the alley since 1948.
And now a game of commercial chicken brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
So, have you noticed how everyone's grammar is completely awful now? Like, you know, the texting and the LOLs. Whatever happened to punctuation? I mean, drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
I don't know where my soul is. I don't know where my home is. And
I can tell you where the home of the 901 FC is. That's AutoZone Park, and they're going to resume play July the 11th. That's what the USL today voted to restart July the 11th, so a little more than a month. My question is, and they're not doing a tournament, I don't think, like MLS is doing. You know, they're doing one, or they're proposing to do one like in the NBA, all down in Orlando, same place, Disney, ESPN, Wide World of Sports.
Yeah, more World Cup style.
World Cup style for sure. Group play into a knockout round, a tournament.
That's fine.
Like 6 weeks. Okay, it's. I think it's cool, and I think they'll get a lot of publicity out of that. USL can't do that. They got more teams and everything else. But are they going to play at home stadiums without crowds? How will they make any money at all? The NBA, Major League Baseball, even the MLS to a certain extent can do that because they get national and local television money. I've been a part of the 901 FC television broadcast, and I can tell you, without going into huge financial detail, it's not that big a moneymaker, okay?
That's right.
And if they're not getting any kind
the margins were slim.
of crowd, they're clearly going to lose money because they still have to pay salaries of coaches and players and maintenance people and people that may have been furloughed. They'll have to bring back to make sure the field is all set.
It's rough, and they were
there's
off to a
no
great
way
start.
to make money if they do that.
I mean, it was fairy tale first year, and it was fairy tale first night of this year on Saturday, March 7th.
It was. You know what? First of all, they've got their own set of fans.
They do, and I want it to succeed to the nth degree.
It's going to.
But I thought it would, but this is really way later.
This is reliant on fans in the stands. This is the only way they can make money, and so to resume the season, I'm a little surprised. Like the G League, you saw that went away, right? Now that was the end of the year. So you can understand that. This is the very beginning. But when you are cutting off all your revenue streams pretty much, you're just basically saying we want to keep the product out there for a little bit. I would assume this would really be a very short season just to keep sort of interest in your market, little marketing,
games.
Put it toward marketing dollars. I don't know, 15, 20, 10 home games.
They were scheduled for 34. If they could get in 15 to half, that'd be great.
Yeah.
With an October ending.
And just know that Peter Freund, Craig Unger, they're just basically saying this is a marketing expense, because the way I see it, if they don't have crowds, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe they'll have 25% capacity. They'll open up AutoZone Park. But if they're doing this without fans, there's no way to make money. It's a costly expense.
It's tough. And Orlando's going to be something to watch. You mentioned MLS there and the NBA there, and we talked about those odds earlier. No shocker to win it all. Lakers number 1, 11-5. Clippers 11-4. Milwaukee 3-1. Boston 12-1. Rockets 20-1. Defending champion Raptors 25-1.
What did you say Milwaukee was? 12-1?
3-1.
3-1.
Boston 12-1.
Yeah.
Denver Nuggets 28-1. Have I run out of teams that can legitimately win it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Milwaukee has a really good shot. 3-1. To me, that's a good buy. If I were like handicapping a horse race right now, and you always look at odds for your buy, I think I like Milwaukee at 3-1.
What about this one? Just on a flyer, just on a hit and hope. A dangerous Philadelphia, well-rested. Joel Embiid's knees, as rested as they maybe ever have been. Brett Brown needing to advance, or he may lose his job at 30-1. Just on a flyer.
Well, that's your dark horse.
Defending champs Raptors at 25-1.
Yeah, well, the guy that won them that title doesn't play for them anymore.
He's up there at 11-5.
Yeah, so I don't
11-4.
I don't like that buy.
Clippers were my preseason pick to win it all.
The Grizzlies would have had to play Toronto twice that they're not having to play.
That's true.
The Grizzlies' schedule was so tough. I think this is a good deal.
I still don't like that.
You're just mad at the NBA.
I am. At almost any crucible, it never feels like it falls the Grizzlies to their favor. And whether it's the whole Brooks trade and the scheduling snafu a few years ago, I bet they won't forget it again. It should be set alone the only game in town.
Is it because it's small market? Is it because there's no relationship with ownership and the league?
Well, I don't know certifiably the latter. I do know the former, and it is small market. But I'm afraid that the heft that Michael Heisley and Stan Meadows had, that maybe the newer group doesn't, and they can sure get there. And you get there off the court a lot of times with heft with what you do on the court.
Well, we don't know behind the scenes, and Zach Kleiman could be buddies with Adam Silver for all I know. It just seems to me that the NBA, just like every business in almost every walk of life, relationships matter. And the Heisley Stan Meadows combination, and really I think you throw in Andy Dolich a little bit there. They had a good working relationship with the league, and then they had some years together. And even though Robert Parra's now owned this team for several years, and again, we don't know the dynamic of the league and the board of governors and how Parra stands in all of that. But I've never seen any kind of story about him and the grouping of owners, having this budding relationship.
And it's hard to get to the Mark Cuban clout stratosphere.
Mm-hmm. It is. Well, who was it we had on that was talking about, Mark Cuban, if he calls Adam Silver, he takes his call. Jeannie Buss, same thing. I'm sure Steve Ballmer would be in that category, being, I think he is the wealthiest owner of all the owners in the NBA. I just don't know that if, unless there's a major problem, if Robert Parra calls up Adam Silver, does he drop a phone call to talk to Robert?
I just don't know. I would only be speculating, but it doesn't appear that Memphis has that weight right now.
No, I agree with you, but I again, with this deal, I don't think that was it. I think they tried to figure out a way to get as many teams involved in a fair way.
I do,
and
because we're all really.
I think in the end they did Memphis a favor.
But we're going to have basketball. We had Keith Smith on with us again yesterday. We're going to have noon 3 and 9 games.
We know now, because yesterday the owners voted it in. Today, just 20 minutes ago, word came out. Players have accepted the restart on July the 31st.
We'll have breaking news during shows and score updates. Might even get some spring training games in.
These games we might give. I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Edwin Watts. If you love golf, you'll love Edwin Watts. Really, is there any other place that you go to buy? I don't know anybody does. Some people used to be really loyal to their country clubs, and I am sure there are a few that you'll still buy from your club, and I'm not saying that's terrible. Please, I'm not. I love country clubs, and I love that many of them will try to serve their members. But this is where everybody goes. Every time I walk into Edwin Watts, I see somebody I know. I see a deal. It could be on a Bushnell GPS system or rangefinder. It could be they had a great deal on even Pro V1s the other day. They've always got something going. It could be the latest in equipment. It could be the latest in fashion. You can get fitted right there. Shoes, bags, gloves, balls, apparel, more. They got a satisfaction guarantee. It's just terrific. And it's in that new place right there at I-240 in Poplar. That simple. Go see the new location. It's actually Ridgeway Trace Shopping Center. And you will love what you see. And don't forget that 90-day, 100% satisfaction guarantee. They've been serving golfers in Memphis since 1968. They're the only place to go. Edwin Watts. Hour number 3 right around the corner. Our agent on the NBA, that's Andy Schiffman, and he is next.
Napa know-how. Get all the quality parts you need at your locally owned Napa. Because right now, when you order from Napa online, you can pick up curbside at your local store in just 30 minutes. Or get your order delivered direct to your door with free one-day shipping on over 160,000 quality parts when you spend $50 or more. Quality parts delivered quickly and safely. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating stores, standard ground shipping and exclusions apply.
Do you get into bed and find your mind still going? If so, try ZzzQuil Pure Z's liquid melatonin. It's made with an optimal level of melatonin for no next day grogginess. Pure Z's liquid melatonin, because sleep is a beautiful thing, at stores now.
There's a new commissary in town in Collierville. Germantown Commissary is doubling. Yeah, they're still going to have the old Germantown Commissary by the tracks, but now there's a huge new Germantown Commissary in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levee Road. It's huge, too. There's a drive-through. There's plenty of parking. No telephone pole to get in your way. A cool patio. It's right by the track, so the tradition continues. And this is a tradition that's been around forever. That commissary is famous for hickory-smoked, slow-cooked Memphis-style barbecue. They've got a private party room at the new one in Collierville. Self-catering still continues. Party packs for $5.95. Basically, the great ribs, the great pulled shoulder, the great deviled eggs. Everything is there in Collierville and Germantown now. So there is now a Germantown and Collierville style of barbecue. It's called Germantown Commissary.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Andy Schiffman on the NBA with us, and we look forward to it as it's back to work for Andy and it's back to work for the NBA. We talk all things National Basketball Association after I tell you about the title sponsor of this hour, and that's DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road in DeSoto County. Go online and check out all the happy referrals at DeSotoAutoSales.com. 662-890-7184. All the cars test driven, checked out head to toe, bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, and they have every make and every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales. You're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, down-home atmosphere, no high-pressure sales, but they do care about your time and want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience because they know we're living in a world today that time really matters. You pick out the car you want with your sales rep. You sit down, do the paperwork, credit approved, everything done in less than 45 minutes, in time to do it over your lunch hour or right now, immediately after work, in time to be home for dinner with your family. At DeSoto Auto Sales, DeSotoAutoSales.com, 5704 Goodman Road. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
We learned a couple of news stories that have been breaking while we're on the air. One, the Memorial Tournament, when Jack gets all the pros together. That is right before the Memphis Golf Tournament. The state of Ohio has now said they can have fans in the on the golf course. I think it'll be a 25%. That broke, and then moments after that broke, the Players Union said yes, the NBA will be back in action in Orlando on July the 31st. So that is really, really good. Apparently part of the plan is to keep 1,600 people in Orlando in a bubble at any given time. Player families will be allowed to arrive after the first round of the playoff, likely 3 members at a time. So now you're down to basically 8 teams, and so that is a little bit more feasible. But 1,600 people will all be together. The Grizzlies will be a part of that. Andy Schiffman, who is our agent, living here at the moment, at least for a few more weeks, usually in Chicago, as Brandon Clark is one of his guys. The players voted it all in today. I suspect, Andy, you were not surprised at that news.
Correct, Dave. It's great to obviously be on with both of you, and just even better to hear that everything with regards to the restart of this NBA season is now formalized. And just as you mentioned, just this afternoon, the Players Association approved the restart. There will be 22 teams. There will be 9 teams in the East, and there's 9 playing because Washington is realistically the only team as of the standings taken from March 11th, roughly, when the season was suspended. Washington's the only team that really, it seems like, has a chance catching the 8th seed, because this whole restart starting July 31st in Orlando is truly just for the 8th seed. And then you'll have the 8 playoff teams as they were ranked in March, including the Grizzlies at the 8th spot, plus Portland, New Orleans, Sacramento, San Antonio, and I also believe Phoenix as well, competing for the 8th final playoff spot. So it's exciting that this is all now formalized and they put pen to paper, and there are dates coming out every second, it seems like. Now, look, it's June 5th, right? So we have just less than 2 months before the season will restart. So we don't quite know how things will look by the time we get to July 31st. I think the league and the union are definitely open to the possibility of having to change some rules and regulations that they've set forth and established today and this week. If things do change for the worse, hopefully that will not happen. But I think everyone's keeping an open mind and just excited to get back to playing basketball.
Any chance we start earlier?
I don't see any chance we start earlier. They've talked about players obviously reporting roughly around July 9th through 11th for a kind of a miniature training camp, playing 2 to 3 exhibition games. I don't think the union would even be for having its players start earlier. The more time, the better to get these guys back in game shape.
Andy Schiffman, what are some of the protocol that you think has been well thought out pertaining to testing and pertaining to what happens if there's positive cases?
Well, to answer that first part, Dave, the second part of your question there, they've talked about continuing the season if a player does test positive, and that player would be quarantined for at least 7 days. How realistic is that players will still want to continue if someone on their own team, on their own bench, in their locker room does test positive? I think that could be a bit of a challenge, but it's all speculation right now because we just don't know. I do think and approve and like the fact that the league will be testing players every single night. I like the fact that it seems like they're limiting the travel parties for each team roughly to about 35 people. They're definitely going to take necessary precautions. They're going to make sure the players stay in this quote-unquote bubble. They're not going to be out, roaming around Disney World, spending time with family in the resort, riding rides. That won't be happening. One thing that I kind of laughed at that will be very interesting to see is the prospect of the NBA playing artificial noise and crowd sound over these games. They talked about using crowd sound from NBA 2K, the video game. So that would be humorous for me. I've talked to a few players about that. They said it would be interesting, but again, players probably hear more of that lately than they do actual people cheering because they're just all the time in the world right now are spent playing these video games.
Will they hear boos? Would there be any of that?
I don't know if they've incorporated booze into 2K. I'm not quite sure.
Because if you're the road team, for a designated game, and I don't know if they're doing that. Are they designating home team, road team? You could do that to try to even things out.
You could, yeah. I think they do. I think they will designate home and road for sure. And the other interesting part about this too, Dave, is what will the schedules look like? Because obviously, playing an 82-game schedule is you're trying to set up as much parity as possible. Now, if you have a team like the Grizzlies that were set to play some of those lower-level teams in the West or the East remaining throughout the rest of March and April, that would obviously help your playoff positioning. Now, those teams won't even be participating in these games in Orlando. So the league has to take a hard look at how they're going to evenly schedule things out based on the level of competition and opponents these teams participating in Orlando and trying to make the playoffs were going to face had the season not been suspended.
Are your guys in shape? Are they ready to go?
They're as in shape as they can be. We talked about Brandon Clark, and we also have John J. Porter, who won't be playing, just coming off an injury. But these players, and my players in particular, they're as in shape as they can be without actually having gone out and played 5-on-5. The whole notion of being in shape, right? There's being in shape and getting as much cardio work as you can and strength training, but that is so far different from actual game shape and being able to run up and down for 30 or 40 minutes in a game, much less with everything going on, much less having not done it for close to 3 months and 4 months by the time we get to the end of July. And that will take some time. Is a 2-week training camp truly enough? Probably not. Probably not. But again, everyone, with the exception of a few stars that have had access to a gym, and I know the Lakers and LeBron, they've been kind of going out and doing their own internal workouts and probably have played some pickups there. Generally, everyone's in the same boat, and I'm glad that the NBA is implementing a couple exhibition games for each team. I think that is absolutely needed, and I know that will also alleviate the concerns of players rushing too far into things and potentially running a risk of injury.
When you first heard this plan, did you really think they could pull it off?
I did. I think the biggest challenge was making sure all the players felt comfortable. And to do that, you obviously had to have a workable space to go play and be isolated, which they found in Orlando. I think you have to come to a workable solution in coordination with the players and the Players Association and communicate with the Players Association and Chris Paul, the president, et cetera, to make sure that the league is hearing from all of the players via the Players Association. And the league truly is listening to and understands the players' concerns, and then subsequently go out there and address each of these concerns, which Adam Silver and his staff have done a great job of on multiple calls throughout the last several weeks. And when you check all those boxes and accomplish those tasks, I am very happy that we've reached the solution that we have. And I was hopeful, as you and I talked about in previous shows, that we would see a resumption of the season, and here we are.
And it is a testament to their relationship. There's always going to be some conflict with labor and management, but they always seem to resolve it pretty amicably and very professionally. And if it gets nasty, they're able to keep it behind closed doors, almost the antithesis of baseball. But Andy, I know I have a master's degree, and probably I'm working on a PhD as a professional worrier. I was born a natural worrier. I'm worried that to get the conclusion of the 2020 season in and a champion crown, that we may be short selling some of the items for 2021, namely fanless, with building games without fans next year.
No, absolutely, Stats. I mean, the expectation right now, and talking to several players and general managers, is that everyone is assuming next season will start without fans. No one is assuming that this is all going to be significantly improved and safe just in a few months towards the end of this year, and we're going to start the season with fans. I think everyone is going into next season assuming that we're going to start without fans, and then maybe into the later winter months and spring in 2021, slowly fans will begin to matriculate in. I still like the notion of potentially selling half capacity or spacing everybody out But there then are so many other factors about, well, how do you control too many fans going out to the concession area or the concourse or standing in line or going to the restrooms? There's so many factors that have to be addressed that I know that the league and the Players Association will. Just to your point, in terms of the collaboration on resuming the season between the league and the Players Union, that will bode well for upcoming collective bargaining negotiations, because the league and the union, they have until September 10th now to negotiate a lot of these issues to be implemented into the next CBA. I know that the league and the union are already entering into discussions about the new CBA, which I believe is set to expire next year, and taking into consideration how COVID has changed the landscape of professional sports, and specifically the landscape of professional basketball and fans being in attendance. For sure, this amicable and workable relationship will definitely help. Hopefully, will definitely help things work themselves out in an amicable way, and really just coming to an overall agreement, right, where everyone feels comfortable and feels safe, and that's the most important thing. I would hate to see a lockout because the league is mandating certain protocols that the players feel uncomfortable with, and I don't think that will happen. Keeping in mind, too, though, that obviously this is a conversation reserved for the future when we get to these discussions in the CBA, the salary cap and all of the financial factors that go into determining what the salary cap is in the NBA, all of that is going to be greatly hit by all of this. And with the season resuming, we're all hopeful that maybe players won't lose just quite as much money as we initially thought, and the league won't lose as much money as we initially thought. But whichever way you slice it, the league is taking a hit for sure, which in turn will be passed on to the players. So there's a lot to still be discussed for next season. I think if things go well in August, September, up till October 12th, which is the last scheduled date, and players feel comfortable and safe, that will definitely help with these negotiations. Now, the one point that the league has set forth this week, right, is the start of training camp is planned for November 10th, with the season beginning at the very beginning of December, next year, December 1st. I don't think that will stand pat. I think it's very unrealistic to tell players you're going to resume this season, and then for many of these players that go far into the playoffs to turn around and potentially have to start training camp between 30 and 45 days later and go right into a season if they are not going to truncate next season and shorten it. So there's still a lot of issues to be hammered out.
Well, a couple of things there. The Grizzlies are going to lose 9 games. So on paper, that's 9%. They're going to lose 9% of their incomes. That doesn't take into account what sharing or what money they might get from any playoff revenue.
Yep.
Now, the thing that strikes me, I don't believe there will be no fans next year. If college football has a percentage of fans, 25% capacity, whatever it may be.
Played outdoors, not indoors.
Okay. It is played outdoors. I've got the feeling if you are able to social distance inside in that arena, and college does it because they're successful with football, and they have fans in the stands for NCAA basketball, there's no way the NBA is not going to have people in the stands.
And Andy, with the schedule tightly compacted, looking to the future, and I don't think it's being sacrificed. I think right now you got to first things first, and that's what Adam Silver's done so very well. And I know he's got planning committees, and he's probably thought about it. But if indeed we do have the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo next summer in 2021, how many of the A-listers are going to want to go? Just, man, I've had enough basketball. Give me a break.
No, absolutely. I mean, not only that, right, Seth, but just the overall concern of, okay, so now if things are still a little bit uneasy in the world, to hop on a plane and travel across the world where all this is going on, I don't know if players will really want to put themselves at risk even further. So, right, there's still so many unknowns in the future. And Dave, to your point, I do think for sure, if college basketball allows fans, then no doubt I do believe the NBA will. But I think my point and my thought is initially, I don't even think any of these sports starting up in the fall or scheduled to start up in the fall will start out with fans in the stands. I think at this point, and I've had this conversation with a number of NCAA coaches and college coaches, we don't even know what college basketball will even look like next year. We don't know when they're going to start. We don't know if they're going to allow fans. What sort of scouting opportunities will present themselves for a lot of these high-level players to be scouted and scouted by NBA personnel if people are not allowed to go to practices or go to these arenas for games. So there's still a lot of unknowns. I do think, though, for sure, if college basketball and the NCAA allows fans, specifically in college basketball and for college basketball games, then you'll see fans at NBA games. Stats, I agree. I do think that there is somewhat of a difference between these college football games being outdoors, but still you do run the risk, if not properly social distancing, that numbers will spike. I still think the realistic solution would be to slowly matriculate fans in and see how it goes, maybe at half capacity, maybe even at a third. Then it becomes, well, how do you determine, specifically in college sports, right? How do you determine who gets these tickets? If it's all going to boosters for college sports, how do you determine who gets which tickets? And I just think the best way is to say, look, it's first come, first serve at this point. But again, these are all points that the league and the union with regards to the NBA will address. On the NCAA side, it's all points that the NCAA will address with its member schools. I think the first step, though, is just kind of seeing how this goes over the next 2.5 months to 3 months with the NBA. And I think it will really bode well for the future of college and professional sports if, look, we get through this period where no one, knock on wood, no player tests positive. People are tuning in.
We got to have a trailblazer.
Yeah, we got to try somehow. We got to have some sort of experimental time frame, and now's the time to do it. And I think it's a lot better than just saying we're going to cancel the season and just start 2021 just as we always would have in December.
Andy. I'm ready to get on offense. We've played defense for a long time. We had to because the novel virus had us, heck, we weren't on our heels. We were waylaid. We didn't know what was coming at us in March and April.
Yeah, it's going to be very strange, I can tell you that. Watching, for me as an agent, right, like typically in July, I'm hunkered down in the office with regards to free agency, not getting any sleep, then going to Vegas for Summer League, and then maybe taking a bit of a breather in August or September. So now to kind of change the entire landscape of a summer like that for an agent and for teams to say games will be resuming, it's going to be a little bit of a shock to the system. It'll be strange at first to see games being played in a setting where there will be no fans initially, where you will not have all 30 teams participating, limited in every sense of the word, during the summer months when typically this is the off-season time for players and a very, very busy time for NBA personnel and agents.
I'm wondering because, Adam Silver said yesterday, and I think he's tried to sort of amend his statement, but older coaches may not be able to be on the bench. You're talking Popovich is 71 years old. D'Antoni, I believe, is 67. Rick Carlisle with the Mavericks is 60. Where's the line going to be drawn? I don't know if you have any coaches that you represent, but that would be something I would be thinking about.
Well, it is something that was addressed when Adam Silver went on TNT Tonight yesterday, and then he kind of backtracked and retracted his statement. And initially, he did say that he does believe that coaches who are a little bit older, north of 65, 67, which there are about 4 or 5 of in the NBA, these higher-risk coaches potentially should be coaching with masks on. Now, the coaches very quickly, Rick Carlisle, who's head of the coaches union, came out publicly and said, look, it's all or none. You can't expect certain coaches to have this, and they use the word stigma, this negative stigma on them, and be singled out to wear masks if no one else is. And at the end of the day, I do think, look, it's their choice. There could potentially be younger coaches who are more at risk than a coach like Greg Popovich or Alvin Gentry or Mike D'Antoni. We just don't know. And so if you did know that, that's a different story. But I just think I tend to agree. Let those coaches make their decisions. We in the NBA, we represent Steve Kerr, who is 54 years old. So luckily he's not really in that high-risk age range. I have not spoken to Steve about this point in particular, but it just seems in general and I think Adam Silver understands this too, to not single out coaches. And if they're going to mandate all coaches wear masks while coaching, great, everyone will do it. And if not, then don't expect certain coaches to adhere to certain rules that aren't applicable to 22 other NBA coaches.
Last thing for our agent, Andy Schiffman, and we know for sure the season will start July 31st because the players voted it today after the owners voted it in yesterday. So that's the good news. If the playoffs run the gamut, you could have Game 7 October the 7th. I'm guessing now because of that, we know for sure that the next NBA season, the 2021 season, will be Christmas. Is that when it'll start?
December 1.
About 2.5 months? Oh,
Well,
December
as of today,
1?
they're saying December 1st, but I do think that will get pushed back.
Yeah, I mean, because if it's October 7th and you started December 1st,
Short turnaround.
It would be 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and think about training camp. I mean, training camp, they're planning on starting November 10th. So, again, like you mentioned earlier, you've got about 30 days to tell these players that just played more games than any other team in the NBA, right, because they're playing all the way to the NBA Finals. By the way, go home for about 4 weeks and come right back and expect to play a full season. I think they're going to absolutely get some pushback from the Players Union on that.
No doubt. Andy Schiffman, stay healthy,
Thank
my
you,
friend. Andy. We'll talk to you next week. Same time, same place.
Thanks, guys. Stay well.
Thank you.
You got it.
That's our agent, Andy Schiffman, brought you in part by the Spirit Shop. Okay, weekend's almost here for us. It's about 35 minutes away. For some of you, it may already have started, and let me steer you to my buddy Eddie Connor right there in the middle, the heart of East Memphis. And that is Poplar and St. Nick, 4848 Poplar, just down from Clark Tower. You've passed it by a million times. It's the little log cabin. And now that little log cabin in front of it has a tent. Sitting in front of that tent are a bunch of folks ready to bring you whatever you would like. And that could be premium wines, middle ground wines, the bargain wines that are up and comers that are cheap right now. Could be very expensive because they're really great. And they're going to be known for it in a couple of years. It could be vodka, it could be gin, it could be precious bourbon. And there again, it could be bargain bourbon. All you've got to do is ask. In fact, you can call in advance, and Eddie Connor and his crew will have it ready for you when you come. You can even pay over the phone, and they'll just put it right in your car. Curbside service. It's so easy. The Spirit Shop has everything, accessories, beer, whatever you need to make your weekend a little bit more happy. So we say all you got to do is head to the Spirit Shop and tell everybody we sent you. Again, that's Poplar and St. Nick. We'll take a break. We're back in just a minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
The word is out about R&R on Sports, where you've heard interviews from
Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more.
Right here, R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m., Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Don't miss it.
Anyone who builds, remodels, or repairs for a living, we know the way you work has changed. That's why Lowe's is committing today to build new ways to keep you working tomorrow. We are proud to introduce the new Lowe's for Pros job site, powered by Stream, an augmented video chat tool so you can be there for your customers without actually being there. And the cost to use? Try it free through October 31st at lowesforpros.com/proloyalty. Just one of the reasons why Lowe's is the new home for pros. Services subject to Stream terms. Lowe's loyalty membership required. More terms apply.
Hi, I'm Troy 5 owner of 5 Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. 5 Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. 5 Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Ask Sherwin-Williams and get your color your way. We've made it easier than ever to try and buy color. Preview paint colors in your home with our Color Snap app. Then visit swcolorchips.com to have color chips delivered to your door for free. And when you're ready to paint, buy online or call your local Sherwin-Williams store for curbside pickup and get everything you need without leaving your car.
O'Reilly.
Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get up to a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries. With high cranking power and reserve capacity, Superstart batteries provide all the power your vehicle demands and more. Turn the key with confidence. Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. I just got the greatest little text. It's a picture of Michael J. Fox and who played the professor in Back to the Future?
Didn't see it.
You didn't see?
I've seen the movie, but I don't remember the actor's name.
Dave.
He was on Taxi. He was great. So it's
Danny DeVito?
No. He was on. He was in Taxi too. Now this is the
Christopher Lloyd.
So they're sitting in the DeLorean, which is the time machine, right?
Yeah.
And they're sitting there talking, and it says rule number 1. Never set it to 2020.
No kidding. No kidding. Need to move on from 2020, don't we?
I thought that was absolutely terrific. I'll tell
but
you
we
who.
Got some hope.
We do. Well, we got 139 vaccines going, and we got
Dr.
Be a cure
Fauci
in there
somewhere.
Dr. Fauci saying he thinks there'll be some sort of treatment by the new year, and we had the. Some I think it was a commercial appeal story today.
Economy looking better.
That basically said there's a treatment that'll probably take 2 shots, one the first month, and you wait a month, you take the second, and you might have to have a booster after that. But if we've got that and it works, that with the unemployment numbers today, woo!
Can we make
crazy.
taking the shots mandatory to boarding a flight? That you have to show that you've had your shots.
I'm okay with that.
I am too. But there's a lot in the anti-vax crowd that wouldn't be.
Well,
but the anti-vax crowd could be shouted down.
They could be, and this is all about survival. It really is. And if you believe strongly enough that you don't want that, then you believe that you don't get to travel by air.
Yeah, because we're getting ready to go through thermal screening, body scan, temperature scan.
Yeah.
Maybe to enter a ballpark or a stadium or a movie theater.
We've already got new technologies that I think are really cool. I saw this story today where these 2 girls, and I don't remember which European country they were in. I think it was a European country. And as a high school project, they're one of the girls' granddads, I think, was an engineer or something like that. They did as a science project as kids in high school the use of UV lights, right? There's UVA. Is it A, B, and C, or C, D, B, C, and D, something like that?
I did not do this project.
Okay, all right. So they've figured out now that UV lights can be used. One of the UV things is a disinfectant. And they are using this like they came up, their first innovation that they sold to like malls and places all over the place is, when you get on an escalator, you always hold the handle. Well, that surface of the side there, the handle, the COVID can last for a long time. So they apply UV lights that shine on the handle as it passes and disinfects the handle. And it's being used everywhere. And they're going to have, like, you'll walk through a door and it'll have these UV lights, and anything on your skin or your clothing surface will be immediately disinfected.
If we have pro and college football this fall, I think we'll see different looking face masks.
Could be. How about, though, if you went through that UV thing on your way into the stadium? You probably pass through.
Fine.
The first thing you'll pass through is a screen that will let people know you don't have weapons or anything of that. Then the next thing you'll go through is another doorway that'll have UV lights to disinfect you. We always through crises like this, we always come up with new technology.
Drew, somewhere they're going to come up with the technology to find that half pint of Maker's Mark in your boot.
Somewhere they will, but until that day, I will continue to play the boot game.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck on that.
You're never busted?
No, never been caught.
Liberty Bowl officials are listening to this show.
I betted 1,000 at all football games and 1,000 at all festivals.
They don't know what he looks like. That's the reason he is getting away with it.
Well, and facial screening is helping to really separate in a lot of the protests the peaceful protesters that have every right to be out there from some of the malcontents that are causing some of the trouble. They're going to get to the bottom. They said that there's one toy, even with the mask that a lot of the paramilitary types have had on, that it can cut through the mask, the facial scanning.
There's going to be a whole bunch of new things that will get us back to a different kind of normalcy
one old thing
in the long run.
Will be the Schwab. And Rex Hoggard mentioned a single-digit champion maybe next week because, that tournament is usually played – and it's usually pretty crusty and hot, and the wind always blows out there in mid-May. It could really be that way next week. They have 101 PGA Tour winners in their final field. Tiger Woods did not enter the field. 24 major champions. They've got a great field.
Well, he said it was the greatest field ever in history.
148
that goes back to Hogan's days.
Yeah.
When Hogan was the host, they always had great fields, but this is incredible.
Can't wait till we do Golf Picks Wednesday and put one on you this year after that just pass we gave you last year for helping us out and jumping to the afternoon.
It's just amazing to me how you've mentally been affected by that incredible comeback, which is not the first time that I have done that to you. So I would have thought by now you'd be used to that.
Drew, are you used to it?
No, not at all.
Get used to it. Serious note here. I did not have a chance. I'm sure you commented yesterday about Mike Norvell and his apology to his team.
Yeah, I was afraid he was in real trouble with that.
I don't know that it's totally over for Mike there. I think it might be. I think it deserves to be. But you never know. He certainly has lost the trust of several of a segment of that team.
A large group of that team. And
now,
I did say this yesterday, Dave. A 20-year-old, they can almost sniff out better than an older person. Somebody selling them a load of you-know-what. And once you break that trust with them, you almost don't get a second chance.
I think it's so early that Mike can win them over again.
That's in his favor, 0-0.
Because Mike is –
also in his favor was they can't afford that buyout.
Right. Well, Mike's a smart guy. Mike made a mistake. Mike has tended to generalize in his career. If you usually ask him a tough question, he deflects. If he does not want you to know.
I never thought he was hyperbolic, though.
Well, he had a lot of the same sort of patented answers, and if you asked him to be specific, he wouldn't like Justin Fuente. He would just say, "I'm not going to tell you that."
Yeah.
That is not Mike. Mike would use hyperbole to get around it. And I think Mike probably learned a lesson here. You can't generalize. You can't
you got to shoot him straight.
You can't embellish. Mike probably thought when he had communicated with them with a mass text that was his way of saying it's open, it's communication. We're addressing this situation, and he used the word "I've talked to everyone." Well, that wasn't the case, and that absolutely riled a segment of his team. I think he smoothed it over because he was smart enough to use the right words after that to say, words are important, especially at this time, and I've not done a very good job. That won't happen again. I don't think it will because he is a smart guy who if they give him another chance, I think they will because, as you said, they're 0-0, and they'll start winning because they'll see just how smart a coach he is.
Right now.
But he's definitely done damage to that relationship, and he's going to have to be a little different guy than he's been.
I think it always holds you in good stead. But right now, I think there's a real premium on candor and saying what you mean and meaning what you say, but also no BS. Right now, shoot everybody straight.
And I think not to be mean-spirited, but in order to not to get specific, Mike has been kind of a BS guy. And I think he may have to change his approach on that.
Did you see where the governor of Indiana, Governor Mitch Daniels, the president of Purdue, he testified.
Well, he's former governor.
Former governor of Indiana, former member of Congress from the state of Indiana, came up kind of on the Dan Quayle team, member of his staff, and aide for him both in the Senate and in the vice presidency. And he testified in front of Congress that he doesn't think we have a stomach for many positive tests, especially after school starts.
If we're going to carry on with on-campus classes, I'm not talking about athletics, I think we're going to have a stomach for some. Look, kids are going to come from home. They're going to come from traveling. They're going to come from wherever they're all coming from. They've been on the beach like they were for the Memorial Day weekend. And it's going to be like the Alabama crew that showed up with 5 that were not any responsibility of the school, but because they're coming back.
His direct testimony was if athletic team had COVID-19 outbreak, school would shut down.
And this is a guy who's been all
pretty bullish,
all ready to come back.
He's also announced limited capacity at Ross Aid.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Nick Saban and all of the administration at Alabama were surprised at 5 positive tests coming in?
I don't know how you can be surprised. They might have been surprised that it wasn't more. I think we're going to have positives, and we got to see how we handle it with the protocols, with the quarantining, the isolation, the contact tracing. All those new terms.
And make no mistake, it's as important as athletics are. And I think Mitch Daniels has talked about this in the past. As much as he wants athletics, he wants on-campus classes.
He wants school.
He wants school. Because if they don't have school for another semester,
it's a tsunami.
There are some schools that you will be incredibly surprised at that won't survive.
Won't survive. Won't be there for August 2021 school.
I think that's right, and that's why it's so important that we do get back, and we do have classes.
Here's more breaking news from Shams Charania. The NBA Players Association informed players today that they will conduct coronavirus testing every night during resumed season, likely mouth swabs, light nasal swabs, and not full invasive nasal swab.
But every night?
Minimum 7 days quarantine for a player if positive.
Wow. So think about this. And I'm not trying to take a swipe at the NBA. I'm hoping we have a lot of tests. I really am, because we're going to need them from here on out. And you're talking about, I read in the report from ESPN that there were going to be in their bubble to begin with 1,600 people. So you're talking about 1,600 tests every day.
And Roger Goodell with a strongly worded video and subsequent tweet from the NFL official Twitter site, and it reads, "We, the NFL, condemn racism and the systematic oppression of black people. We, the NFL, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier. Encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest. We, the NFL, believe Black Lives Matter."
Wow. So let me ask you this. Does that mean we, the NFL, believe we really did Colin Kaepernick wrong and we should hire him in some capacity?
Yes to the former. To the latter, I think Colin Kaepernick, it's just my supposition, my answer. I think Colin Kaepernick will go, no, you're not gonna buy me now. I wanted to play ball.
He might not.
But some league role in a role an emeritus role for racial relations.
Well,
a role very similar to that Dr. Harry Edwards, who was a longtime professor, I think at Cal, had a role with the 49ers, and then had a league role. I don't see anything at all wrong with it, but I wouldn't want to see Colin Kaepernick reduced to, hey, we're going to give you a big title. Let him do something if you're going to give him a big title.
We started this show, really, by me talking about the pendulum swinging from the stance that was taken on Kaepernick to the stance that was presented, and then the apology that was sincerely given by Drew Brees. We're talking about a position being 180, and the commissioner today just went 180 on us too, didn't he?
Yeah,
he went from a guy that refused to hire Kaepernick to now saying we wronged him.
And the word games, shoot straight, it was important for Roger Goodell, and it's important for everyone. It's clear, and it's acceptable. It's the right thing. Black lives matter.
Everybody's lives matter, and we haven't done black people correctly for a long time. And the biggest question that I get on whenever you make a statement like that is, well, how do we write it? How do we get better? And that part we have to figure out. And I think, personally, it begins with education and training. And we have to see established programs starting in that regard. This portion of the show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, always doing things to try to make it better for you, to find the right time for you to get into new technology. I want to put you in a 2020 Carrier Infinity system, and if you do that, I can actually, thanks to John and to Carrier, they've teamed up to give you Visa gift cards back from your purchase. You buy a Carrier Infinity system that just needs one unit, you're going to get $1,500. If your system, like mine does, I've got 2 units in my system, I'm getting $3,000 in cards right back from Carrier. What a deal. And if that's not enough, John says, I'm going to throw in an April air cleaner to get the dust out of your home. That's free. I'm going to give you a 10-year parts warranty. That's free. I'm going to give you a free Nest thermostat. That's the latest and the greatest. And I'm going to make the payment plan so easy, as low as $139 a month. And you're always going to get the award-winning Conway service, and it is really good. All you got to do is make the call. That is 384-3511, 384-3511. Get some gift cards from Visa thanks to Carrier and Conway Services. Back in a minute. We got Crunch Time coming your way. That is next.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Visit Frontier Western Store this Father's Day for the perfect gifts for Dad. From now until Father's Day, you'll save big on the classic Carhartt K87 short sleeve tee. Get 2 for $25. Frontier carries every color they make, including this year's brand new colors. All sizes are in stock and on sale, small to 4X. All Carhartt Force t-shirts are 25% off too. This hard-working cotton blend wicks away sweat, resists stains, and has a relaxed fit, giving Dad plenty of room to move. Save big on Force at 25% off. Also, all men's pants and jeans, $5 off. Wrangler, Carhartt, and Ariat. Every pair of khakis, jeans, dungarees, and even FR workwear, $5 off. All Carhartt shorts are 25% off, too. While you're there, grab Dad some boots. You know he'd love a new pair. Frontier has thousands of boots in stock at amazing everyday low prices. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, we hit fame. We beat you with the deal, we get in fame.
Welcome back in. Nice to have you aboard. Final segment of the show. It's brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai and Olive Branch. That also includes Genesis of Olive Branch. Same building, same people. They've been doing it in a great way for a long time. They are the standard for the way car business should be done. Part of its incentives, motivations, like the new 0% financing for 84 months on a Hyundai, on my Genesis G70, on a G90, on the SUV that's coming. Such great automobiles. And another little motivation for you, 120 days to make the first payment on select models. You don't make that first payment on some cars for 4 months. Some others, 90 days, 3 months. They understand, pandemic. You might not have the cash now. You will in a few months. Don't pay until you get that thing in 120 days or 90 days. It's really a beautiful thing. And these cars, I talk about performance and durability. Well, here's the proof. 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new car. Go see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I want you to meet Chris True. I want you to meet all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. It's time for Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Woo! Woo! Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
If baseball gets its act together this weekend, and almost a miracle, Dallas Morning News baseball reporter Evan Grant writes that MLB's inclined to allow Houston and the Rangers play at home with fans in the stands. That's a home state advantage for those two teams.
Wow.
But baseball's not getting its act together.
My goodness. And that would be a revenue stream. Would be.
And how will they share
that
it?
Would be 25% of the 40% that they get. Yeah. Would they be giving that to some of the visiting teams?
Do the players get to look at the books?
Well, or do you move all they's games to Texas where they'll allow fans in that state? That That'll be really interesting. There was a lot of breaking news today, really. The first thing we learned was the Memorial Tournament is going to allow fans in. So that will be the first true test, and it's right before the Memphis tournament. So we'll get a feel, thanks to the governor of Ohio, of whether or not this works. And if it does, what the blueprint is, and maybe that gives us a little bit of hope for the WGC here to truly have fans. Because as the plans stand right now, we think there will be fans allowed into Southwind.
Well, I sure hope so. Could have done without that. Houston and the Rangers could be getting that pass and playing at home, but they're not going to, because there's not going to be a season. Just announce it. Put us out of our misery. Do that this weekend. I don't think anybody on either side really wants to play. Everybody wanted to play on the NBA side, except for maybe Golden State and one or two really down in the standings teams, but very few want to play in baseball. Everybody wants to get paid. The owners want their profits like they normally have. The players want their paychecks like they normally get. That's not the case this year. You're not getting that.
If that is true, do baseball players and owners not love the game the way other sports love their games? And what's the collateral damage that will be done to this sport? We've said it before, but you can't go every 10 years and have some sort of major disagreement, and the sport ends up getting thrown in the trash can.
At the cliff, every 10 or so years, 15 max, they get to the edge of this may be really over.
It's just not a way to run a sport or a business, especially one that was the national
and
pastime.
It's so reactive.
I guess I could have done without the story today. Oklahoma State really getting the book thrown at them.
They
no
did.
Postseason next
A lot of
year.
scholarships.
3 years probation, loss of scholarships. Their coach that was involved gets a 10-year show cause. But it put the.
Will they be allowed to play the Big 12 postseason tournament? Have we seen that?
No, of course not.
Oh, they're not?
I would say you wouldn't, because if you won that, then what? Does everybody not go? Remember that
we do
the Memphis Metro deal, and that's when they changed allowing that to happen. But does that put the target now on North Carolina State, Kansas, Louisville, South Carolina, TCU, USC? Because they've gotten
what puts the target on some of those names.
Letters of inquiry, and I got to tell you one other thing. There's two other schools, LSU and Arizona, that they say will be getting letters of inquiry. If they get these kinds of punishments, it's really a message, but also it cripples the sport for 2 or 3 years.
It sure could. Keeping a close eye on a lot this weekend. That field is set for the Schwab. It is fantastic. 24 major winners in the field. The focus this weekend, I think, a lot will be on who's not there. It's Tiger Woods. Again, I don't think Tiger Woods owes the tour one thing. He doesn't owe the Schwab anything. He doesn't owe the Greater Milwaukee Open anything. He doesn't owe us anything here in Memphis. Now, I prefer that he's here in Memphis last weekend in July, the week before the PGA Championship.
I will watch to see if there's any more news, like the schedule for sure, that we will see for these 22 teams that are coming back. We'll learn more about the protocol.
Yeah, we're getting firm stuff now. Finally, baseball. Oh, you've just dilly-dallied when you had a lot of time.
Yeah, I think you're right. The frustration with that for me comes. I really thought they were so happy they could figure out a way to play.
And it's going to cost Trevor Plouffe his Pulitzer.
There you go. He was on the money. We want to thank Bruce Marshall for his early contributions. Drew Hill, and a congratulations moving over to the NBA from the Tiger Beat. His consensus was he's still leaning toward Moussa Cisse to the U of M. Rex Hoggard was terrific on the Golf Channel, and he believes the Schwab will go as planned. That means Brett owes me steak and whiskey. Andy Schiffman, we thank him. We'll talk to him next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road.